Chapter 9:11. Considering that the origin of the letter might be related to the Macefield Tradings family, we have also investigated the Macefield Tradings family. We have looked into the history of the Macefield family, but the information is limited. The Macefield Tradings family had a long history. Their ancestors were a branch of the northern families, and the northern families could be traced back to 20,000 years ago. It is a pity that the Macefield Tradings family did not survive well over the generations, and the information on this aspect was poorly preserved. There were no useful information left behind. No one made a sound. No matter how many cannon fodder there are, they are still cannon fodder. Huo Lu Shang snorted. No one can stop us, not even Macefield. Ta Fei knew that the great clan elder was truly enraged. He also felt that the prestigious families were too much for their own benefits. They were willing to sacrifice the honorable Martial Continent's benefits. Don't these fools know what they will face if the honorable Martial Continent loses? Iron Mask Army Macefield Tradings, he is the key. Sadra said indifferently. I believe he can see the situation clearly. Furthermore, he is able to control such a powerful spirit general. He will definitely be interested in the things in temple. However, they did not have the time to feel sad for the Qiu family. For such a huge change to occur at such a crucial moment, what they were most concerned about was the impact it would have on the current situation. The tea house opposite the Chamber of Commerce was also packed every day. The rest all nodded their heads. They went to the scene, and upon seeing the completely destroyed Qiu Offense Institute, their emotions became even more profound. This time the Qiu family had completely fallen. This defeat would have a profound effect on the Qiu family, and it could possibly lead to the fall of the Qiu family. At the thought of a top-notch aristocratic family disappearing just like that, everyone couldn't help but feel sad. Temple and the 5 great aristocratic families, it was now the 4 great aristocratic families, all of them were trying their best to rope in the Macefield Tradings. Furthermore, there was a saying that this was the most crucial battle for both sides, and whichever side the Macefield Tradings chose, that side's chances of victory would increase greatly. After following the Great Elder for so many years, he understood the Great Elder's personality very well. He did not conceal anything just because he might anger the Great Elder. However, Great Elder's increasing pressure still made him uncontrollably nervous. This had nothing to do with habit, but rather his body's instinctive reaction. The great clan elder muttered to himself for a moment, then spoke up. Tell Seuss I have given him the greatest authority. I need to see this spirit general. Elder Ta Fei's body trembled, his back was drenched in sweat. He lowered his head, forced himself to calm down, gritted his teeth and said, Yes. We didn't find any valuable information. Everyone's expression turned solemn. The current situation was extremely delicate. Any small change could change the situation, not to mention that this was not a small change. Elder Ta Fei was sincerely convinced as always. Howell reminded everyone, the Macefield Tradings family is not cannon fodder. He had never heard of a general rank spirit general, and that sword was also an incredible treasure. Even the Qiu Offense army was destroyed, his strength was unfathomable. We need to win over the Macefield family. Yes. Ta Fei replied. He hesitated for a moment. Could it be from Heaven's Road? I am worried that this spirit general is related to the Southern Alliance. Southern Alliance's Tang Tian has an extremely powerful spirit general under him. Snow City had been overcrowded recently, and almost all the famous people in Saint Continent had come here. Of course, the most lively place was still Macefield Tradings. Everyone knew how popular the current Macefield Tradings was. Agreed. Mo Igu nodded his head. Such a powerful spirit general is an invincible army. If they were to land in Temple's hands, we will be in danger. Who has the confidence to defeat him? Honorable Martial Palace. The Qiu family's heavy losses was definitely the worst thing for them. The original 5 families had become 4 families, and their strength had been severely affected. Who would Macefield Tradings choose? Everyone was filled with curiosity and worry. Other than the families that had already chosen a side, the majority of the people only wished for the situation to become clear. He spoke respectfully. They are seeking their own deaths. A look of vexation flashed past his eyes. That's right, how could I forget such an important detail? Everyone watched the commotion and were overjoyed. Snow City was not a rural place, but they had never seen so many important figures before. The crowd would occasionally exclaim out in surprise, as all the shining and noble names kept appearing in front of their eyes. Everyone sighed at the vicissitudes of the world. The once small prestigious families had actually become the crux of the honorable martial continent situation. Yes. Clan Elder Seuss's report was not exaggerated. It was hard to verify in the early stages of the Qiu Offense Institute battle, but in the later stages, especially Xian's final attack, many people witnessed it. We have investigated the 60 bystanders who witnessed the final attack, and the conclusion we obtained was the same. We have arranged for 70 clan elders to read through over 3,000 ancient historical records, and in the end we have 9 possible suspects, but we are still unable to confirm his true identity. He looks familiar, I can't remember. Inside the hall, other than the Qiu family, the 5 aristocratic family patriarchs were all present. The Qiu Offense Institute battle had shocked the Saint Continent. They had rushed overnight as fast as they could, not daring to delay in the slightest. They had just returned from the Qiu Offense Institute, and all of their faces were filled with shock. All of them were prestigious aristocratic families, with many soldiers and geniuses, but none of them dared to pat their chest and say that they could defeat the Spirit General. They have already lost the courage and glory of their ancestors. They are just a group of rats that are immersed in the dark and playing with schemes. They are not worthy of what they have now. But they will quickly understand that the honorable martial continent does not need them, they only need Temple. Temple did not need them, their era had ended 500 years ago. Temple needs fresh blood, the honorable martial continent needs fresh blood. We need to cut off the rotten flesh and blood and welcome a new life. That's right. Those fellows think that by joining hands they can go against us. They think that by making a move at this time we will hold back, and for the sake of the big picture we will compromise with them. The great clan elder's voice was filled with ridicule. What a foolish thought. Ta Fei nodded his head. I understand. The Macefield Tradings family is a small prestigious family, and fits our principle of roping them in. The Hua family courtyard was heavily guarded. Ta Fei had been the great clan elder's assistant when the great clan elder was unknown. He had followed the great clan elder for over 40 years, and had been cautious and conscientious, gaining the great clan elder's trust. When the great clan elder became the master of the honorable martial palace, he had been promoted step by step, and became the second in command of Temple. Temple, they are a new prestigious family. Everyone thought of the same answer, and their expressions became excited. If he wanted conditions it would have been easy, but now he wants us to state our conditions. Howl's face was filled with pain. Huali Ruo revealed a look of reminiscence and immediately replied, yes. Senior Exon bowed to the leader of the Iron Mask Army, and called him son-in-law and called himself subordinate. Sadra had the highest prestige out of the 4 of them, and upon hearing his words, the 4 of them immediately agreed. Who knows, they might still be dreaming of replacing us. They are truly foolish. Mo Igu shook his head. Temple has gone back on their promise that year. They are no longer able to tolerate any aristocratic families. They want to be the only masters of the honorable martial continent. Whoever they want to live will live, whoever they want to die will die. All of these idiots are just a group of cannon fodder, not worth mentioning. The Vicari family's patriarch Howl Vicari said, now we need to discuss about how this matter will affect us. Clan Elder Ta Fei's report was as detailed as always. His face was filled with wrinkles, but he was hale and hearty, his gray eyes remained sharp, his hair was combed impeccably, and the pure white robe on his body was not bulky at all. Unlike the other clan elders who liked to wear rings embedded with sparkling gems, or liked to wear exquisite brooches, he did not have any decorations on him, and was as simple as an old soldier waiting for orders. That's right, they thought that the great clan elder would definitely not let the honorable martial continent fail, so he would definitely compromise. But they would never have thought that the great clan elder would be so astute and farsighted. If it was the first time they met, no one would have thought that the simple and spirited old man would actually be the number 2 clan elder of Temple. The great clan elder's tone was impassioned. The holy flame seemed to have sensed his emotions, and released a dazzling light aura, making him look like a golden sun. He seems to be the patriarch of the Constance family. Hey, the Gusite family's patriarch, who do you think he is working for? After listening to Clan Elder Ta Fei's report, the great clan elder said indifferently, you've said so much, does that mean that there is no conclusion? They are already rotten, Ta Fei. In the past few days, the number of esteemed guests that came to visit the Macefield Tradings had practically caused it to explode. Both parties had mobilized their full strength. Wave after wave of lobbyists brought along astonishing wealth, with extravagant praises, instigation, and promises that flowed endlessly. The great clan elder's voice resonated in the Honorable Martial Palace. Howl Vicari continued, Temple has issued the order to gather, although we have already informed them, but they still gathered over 300 small prestigious families. In terms of army numbers, we are at a disadvantage. The great clan elder's voice came out from the golden holy flames. It was calm and filled with confidence. As long as he is a spirit general, it does not matter. I never thought that there would be such a powerful spirit general in the world. The Chiu family did not lose unjustly. The patriarch of the Mo family, Mo Gu, was both moved and shocked. Sadra suddenly turned to look at Huo Li Ruo, who was behind Huo Lu Shang. Who did you say the spirit general bowed to? Didn't Temple want to use the small prestigious families that they had personally supported to replace us? Huo Lu Shang snorted. Ever since they started talking about the prestigious families needing the recognition of Temple, we had already guessed that such a day would come. Then let us see how much power those country bumpkins have. Sadra Croft, who had been silent the entire time, spoke up. Regardless of what conditions he raises, satisfy him. Huo Lu Shang's eyes lit up. You mean? Chapter 9:12. And the situation had reached its peak when Clan Elder Seuss appeared alone in Snow City. Out of all of them, other than Jie Shangguan, the one with the most acute sense of smell was Ah Exen. He had also sensed that something was amiss, and the faintly discernible dangerous aura in the air. Desperate for help? Fu Jingji muttered. Mo Gu did not think much of it. Do you think that Temple can play any tricks? Huo Lu Shang and Mo Gu could not help but reveal smiles. Macefield Trading's family's strength was unfathomable, and if they had a choice, they would definitely not fight with Macefield Trading's family. And once Macefield Tradings joins their alliance, Temple's destruction will be imminent. Sadra's eyes flashed with caution. Don't be careless. Ah. Huo Lu Shang spoke with disdain. Temple is finished, their era is over. Seeing Seuss's dejected look, I am happy. He is usually so arrogant, he is exactly the same as Temple. It's time to show our cards. Huo Lu Shang looked at Snow City in the distance, his face becoming serious. If Macefield Tradings chooses Temple, what measures do we have to take? Xiao Ran snorted, but was obviously bribed by Ji Zhe's big sister Xiao Ran. From the start, he was most worried about the great clan elder who had no presence, and not Sophie nor the Banner of Knights. Everyone's eyes landed on Sadra. He was the soul of the prestigious families. Tang Tian and Chia sat in a corner watching the bunch of clowns. They could not help but laugh. Chia also laughed, but the smile on her face quickly disappeared and she became worried. Big brother Tian, I feel that something is amiss. Melissa was startled for a moment but quickly reacted. I will immediately go and count them. Suddenly his eyes blurred and a figure blocked his path. Seuss took a deep breath and strode forward. Then destroy him. Sadra did not hesitate, his expression was calm. Destroy him at all costs. Mo Gu nodded his head. That's right, even the cleverest housewife cannot cook without rice. He has no cards, how can he play? The conflicts between the new prestigious families as well as their actions towards Temple were no longer a secret. Senior Xian's intention was very clear. He wanted them to bid at the same time. It was extremely irrational to provoke Senior Xian and the Macefield Tradings when they held the advantage. And it was completely unnecessary. Howl did not believe that Temple could offer better terms than them. Ji Zhe sneered and immediately turned his face. Sister Xiao Ran, he said he has a higher seniority than you. Temple has ruled over the honorable martial continent for so many years. Isn't this reaction a little too powerless? Thus they brought their armies, the strongest armies of the four families, to control Snow City. After a moment, Melissa returned with a strange look on her face. Master Miss Chia, we have calculated, there are more guests from the aristocratic alliance, about 60%. Everyone nodded their heads in unison. If Macefield Tradings were to side with Temple, it would be a huge threat to them, and even if they had to pay any price, they had to get rid of Macefield Tradings. On the empty street, Elder Seuss' figure was indescribably bleak. There were no strict guards with swords as sharp as snow, no noble and magnificent guards, no figures of all people bowing humbly, no dazzling divine light like the sun. He raised his head and recognized Howl. But in everyone else's eyes he looked like a cornered beast struggling. All of the new prestigious families that were approached would promise, but they lacked actual actions. Sadra spoke up indifferently, I hope that I am overthinking. Temple was in a dangerous situation and was showing signs of decline. Xiao Ran stared at Xin with an unkind expression. Howl sneered, with your current state, there is no need for you to meet Senior Xin. Howl choked up, he was filled with fear towards the unfathomable Senior Xin. He truly did not dare to stop Zeus and not let him meet Senior Xin. Macefield Tradings is the most important bargaining chip at the moment. Zeus' heart was filled with sorrow, he felt that Temple was truly in danger. Maybe I will die in Snow City this time, he was extremely depressed. Zeus laughed out loud. Could it be that you want to make the decision for Senior Xin? I wonder if Senior Xian is willing. The others stopped their quarreling and looked at Chia. But he knew that there was no point in saying anything and he could only focus. In the current situation, no matter how experienced and astute he was, he could not think of how Temple could turn the tables. But he knew that the great clan elder was not someone who would surrender without a fight. Howl kept the complacency in his heart and said, I will go meet him. He racked his brains but could not understand the great clan elder's intentions. Even if he could convince the Macefield Tradings family, the enemy would not let them leave alive. Howl opened up a path and gestured, let's go together. There were too many guests in the past few days, and the entire organization was exhausted from dealing with them. Something's wrong. Tang Tian's attention was immediately attracted and he immediately asked, what's wrong? Howl laughed insincerely. Why is Clan Elder Zeus here alone? Could it be that Temple is not worried about Clan Elder Zeus' safety? Or do you think that the blades in our hands are not sharp enough? That we cannot cut off Clan Elder's head? The smile on Huo Lu Shang's face froze. He forced a smile. You guys are thinking too much. I admit that the great clan elder is powerful. But I do not believe that the great clan elder alone can turn the situation around. That's not right. Xian's face became gloomy as he shook his head. Temple's actions in the past few days are also very strange. They have only done one thing. Chia said, they have sent out all of their clan elders and these clan elders are constantly meeting with the various families, but they do not seem to be active and have no results. I have noticed that these clan elders are scattered all over the Saint Continent, and there are some places that do not have many armies. Jizai looked at Xin with a look of disbelief. Can you act well? Don't drop the ball at the crucial moment or big sister Xiao Ran will definitely not forgive you. The powerful temple could only rely on the new prestigious families. But the new prestigious families that were loose and scattered all had their own thoughts. Their armies were weak and they lacked trust in each other and more importantly they were worried about Temple. Zeus threw away the pessimism in his heart and said calmly, whether or not to cut them down, wait till I see Senior Xin. I believe that Senior Xin will make the decision. How can a declining temple compete with the prestigious families alliance for the Macefield Tradings family? Compared to the overbearing prestigious families alliance, Temple's reaction was much weaker. Sophie's actions of leading the honorable martial banner of knights to massacre the Chiu family's encampment was more of a retaliation than a venting of anger. Almost all of the clan elders of Temple were mobilized. They were sent to various places in the Saint Continent to contact the various large armies and make their last effort. Zeus walked on the streets, his heart was trembling in fear. Snow City was under the control of the enemy armies, and he had the misconception that he was a sheep in a tiger's den. But it was the great clan elder's orders and he could only obey. The worry in his heart did not decrease, but instead increased. He was different from the rest. He had interacted with the great clan elder before and understood him better. He knew that the great clan elder who lived in seclusion and never asked about anything was a powerful man. Xin looked at Jizai with disdain. Do you think I'm like you? Come, obediently call me Senior Xin. The fact that Hugh had come alone was the best proof of that. Tang Tian had always trusted Chia's judgment, as Chia was much more intelligent than him. Qian Hui did not answer Tang Tian's question, but turned to ask Melissa. Miss Melissa, for the past few days are the guests speaking up for Temple more, or are they speaking up for the aristocratic families more? Snow City was filled with an indescribable pressure and heaviness. The might of the 4 aristocratic families had enveloped the sky of the Saint Continent. But the great clan elder was stubborn and did not listen to his opinion. With Chia's words, Tang Tian reacted and had a look of confusion. That's right, aren't they anxious? Although they knew that if the prestigious family's alliance were to win, it would not be a good thing for them. But they knew that only by standing by the victor's side would they be able to survive. Sadra shook his head. You guys forgot about someone. Exen was dumbstruck. He was shocked by Ji Zhe's shamelessness. So it can be like this. Seems like the mystery will be revealed today. Tang Tian muttered to himself, flames dancing in his eyes. Furthermore, after thinking about the conditions that his side could provide, Seuss did not have any confidence. He could not understand the great clan elder's orders, for all of Temple's clan elders to be mobilized and sent to various places in the Saint Continent. To Seuss, it was a completely futile action, and would instead let others see that Temple had lost control of the situation. Rather than casting a net in vain, it was better to gather all of their strength and attack the Macefield Trading's family. There were many new prestigious families and the prestigious families that were secretly colluding with each other. Macefield Tradings. No one was an ordinary person, they knew that they could not be careless until the last moment. The battle concerned the life and death of their families. If they won, they would become the true masters of the honorable martial continent. If they lost, they and their families would fall into the abyss of hell. There are many reasons why Temple is at a disadvantage, but it is not strange. So Temple and the prestigious families alliance need to rope us in, and logically speaking Temple needs us more urgently. But the majority of the guests are from the prestigious families alliance, isn't that strange? Chia hit the nail on the head. Temple had too few bargaining chips. Other than the honorable martial banner of knights, they had nothing else. Jiaya was far away in the Wei Yiguan continent, Mu Jixia's life and death were unknown, and Temple's most loyal forces were all in the Southern Alliance. The lieutenant generals that were still in the honorable martial continent had countless connections with the prestigious families, and most of them had ambiguous attitudes. Howl was startled, then asked, Great clan elder? In the sky, Howl could not help but reveal a pleased smile. Temple also knows that they cannot snatch us, so they only sent Seuss. Everyone who witnessed the scene had an indescribable feeling in their hearts. It was Temple, the one that created the honorable martial continent, the one that established their unbreakable dominance. But in a single night, it was as if the building had collapsed. Chia's face seemed to release a light aura that could see through everything. Her imposing aura caused everyone to feel deep veneration, and only at that moment did everyone remember her nickname as the Goddess of War. Chapter 9:13. Clan Elder Seuss, who was trembling violently, suddenly released a white flame from his body. But at such a time he could not retreat. He did not speak any nonsense and first bowed to Exen. Greetings, Senior Exen. Temple had pushed the Macefield Trading's family in front of them. Temple's arrogance was truly incurable. It was not easy for them to do so. It was not difficult for the soldiers to stay focused in the face of sudden situations, but in calm situations, it was much more difficult to maintain their focus. To be able to do that meant that they were elites, and it meant that they had undergone tough training, to be able to brand discipline into their instincts. Ever since he had gained enlightenment on the awakened god armor, how long had it been since he felt the threat of death? Sadra was unmoved. That is why there is this war. Suddenly, a low and dignified yet unfamiliar voice interrupted Xian's words. Tang Tian's movements were the fastest. The moment the holy flame appeared, he had already made his move on Clan Elder Seuss. His intuition was extremely sharp, but at that moment his heart was enveloped by an unprecedented sense of danger. Sadra suddenly understood, his eyes filled with disbelief. You want to fight against all the prestigious families. The winner would win everything and the loser would lose everything, even their lives would be lost. The unfamiliar voice from before had actually come from Theseus. They then understood where Temple's confidence came from. Truly a tight security, Seuss sighed in his heart. The Iron Mask army was much more outstanding than he had imagined. All of the soldiers were wearing iron masks, but he could still see many things. Every single one of them maintained their vigilance, and he did not see any of the soldiers' eyes wandering or distracted. Sadra's face darkened, causing him to feel uneasy. It was a condition that the Macefield Trading's family could not reject. Everything in the honorable martial continent, including all of you, belongs to Temple. The great clan elder's tone was indifferent, but extremely tyrannical. Seuss's face finally changed, and clan elder is colluding with the enemy. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. Suddenly, a trace of understanding surfaced in his heart. Before meeting Xiao Ran and the young miss, his world only had the past, but now his world still had the present. It feels good. So good. Seuss spoke with confidence. That's right, in terms of spirit research, who is more authoritative than Temple? Sandra's expression returned to normal. Yes, it's been 23 years. Exen was seated at the seat of honor, with Melissa standing quietly by his side. The soldiers of the Iron Mask Army stood side by side with their backs against the white wall, standing silently, creating a somber atmosphere. Seuss' heart skipped a beat, but his face remained calm as he sneered. Is that so? Even if you take down Temple, you will only get a pile of ruins. Seuss' head exploded like a watermelon, but his body did not fall. Death. He could smell death. Still failed. The next scene made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. His gaze involuntarily turned to Xiao Ran. In the entire place, only Xiao Ran would be able to understand him the most, and would be able to understand how difficult it was to live for so long. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but bloom into an undetectable smile. Holy flame! The world of black and white seemed to have become brighter at this moment, becoming more lively, becoming more vivid, becoming a different color, even though he was just a spirit general. Seuss smiled bitterly in his heart. He had no confidence at all. Temple's arrogance and unwillingness to take a step back became even more abnormal. His voice had a slight change in tone, showing the shock in his heart. Hee. Seuss did not move, his mouth opened and closed, and his voice seemed to come out from his chest. Sandra, I never thought that you would still be able to recognize my voice. It has been 20 years since we last met. Exen nodded his head. Clan Elder Seuss must have brought Temple's sincerity. I wonder what conditions Temple is willing to offer? A few sneers came out. It was Huolu Shang and the rest who revealed looks of ridicule. At such a time, Temple actually dares to put on such a high and mighty attitude. They are truly seeking death. Indiscriminate destruction? You are overestimating the clan elder's courage. Sandra chuckled. Not everyone is willing to be buried with Temple. Our Temple has many friends as well. As long as Temple has it, it will be ours. Just at that moment, Exen suddenly spoke out. I don't need it. Seuss retracted his attention. No matter how elite the Iron Mask Army was, if they were unable to convince them to Temple, it would be the worst thing that could happen. Sandra continued to speak leisurely. Thank you, Temple, for helping us research for so long. We will definitely bring these results to greater heights. Temple still has many good things and we will cherish them. Everyone could feel the dangerous aura, but they did not know where the danger was coming from. On the contrary, Huolu Shang and the rest who were initially panicking immediately calmed down. They understood Sandra, and since he had spoken, they knew that he definitely had a way. But his words were not wrong. But it was fine. It was not that he did not have any bargaining chips. The pure and gentle holy flames showed how profound Seuss's attainments were. The holy flames enveloped Seuss's entire body, making him look like he was on fire. Exion's gaze turned to Clan Elder Seuss and said, If that's the case, then I'm sorry. Exon suddenly stood up, his gaze exploded as he stared at Seuss. Everyone else stood up in shock, and looked at Seuss as though they had seen a ghost. I am just taking back what belongs to us. Sandra said indifferently. Exon did not deny it, his gaze pretended to sweep past the guards not far away, and exchanged glances with Tang Tian and Chia, and saw the vigilance in each other's eyes. Thinking about it now, there were many signs, but I only thought that they were trying to befriend us and never expected for their schemes to be so huge. I am not just living in my memories. Impossible. Huolu Shang suddenly spoke out. The corrosion of time is the laws of the world and cannot be stopped by humans. All of you are speaking nonsense. Everyone could tell that something was wrong with Seuss. His body was stiff and unmoving, his gaze was dazed and lost focus, and only his mouth was opening and closing. The scene in front of them was extremely strange. Everyone felt a chill down their spines and their hairs stood on end. Seuss calmed down instead. In truth, he did not believe it in his heart, but he could not care too much about it at the moment. He pretended to be confident and said, It seems like everyone has forgotten. Temple was the first to start researching spirits, and I believe that no one has invested more than Temple in this aspect. Huolu Shang and the rest's eyes lit up. That's right, as long as we take down Temple, everything in Temple will belong to us. Your memory is always better than mine. I truly do not wish to meet you, old friends, but now we have to fight to the death. The great clan elder sighed. Their gazes met, and Xian could sense the warmth and concern in Xiaoran's eyes. Seuss did not know why the great clan elder was not willing to give in at such a time, although they had to use any conditions to rope in Macefield Tradings, but they were not willing to give the most important condition. Temple's attitude was clear. Temple was the master and Macefield Tradings was the subordinate. And if Macefield Tradings were to join the alliance, they would be partners and everyone would be the masters of Honorable Marshall Continent in the future. Although it would involve the distribution of power and benefits, but at least everyone would be equal. Seuss was not used to doing things in such a direct manner, but at that moment he steeled his heart and went straight to the point. As long as Macefield Tradings is willing to follow Temple, Macefield Tradings will be the only aristocratic family in Honorable Marshall Continent. Regardless of what Macefield Tradings needs, Temple will satisfy them. Sadra finally revealed a smile. He knew that Temple had completely failed. But Temple's attitude was still a little surprising. He calmed himself down and spoke. Temple is willing to impart the method to resist against the corrosion of time, and can extend Senior Xian's life. Upon hearing Sadra's words, a bad premonition surfaced in Seuss's heart. 20 years ago I already knew that you did not submit, but it was difficult for me to take action against you. Everything has ended, Sadra. Thank you for this war. A new era is about to begin. The faces of Sadra and the rest froze. A look of panic flashed past their eyes. They finally understood that they had neglected an important point. Senior Xian was a spirit general. Temple is Temple. They are already used to being the masters of the Honorable Marshall Continent. As for the rest, they can only be servants. Howl mocked and ridiculed, not forgetting to add insult to injury. Sadra and the rest's attention was immediately attracted. The Honorable Marshall Continent does not need any prestigious families. The Honorable Marshall Continent only needs Temple. The great clan elder's voice was filled with fanaticism. Seuss's body trembled. His heart was filled with bitterness. In truth, he had never been willing to admit it. This operation had been planned by the aristocratic families for a long time. They had probably infiltrated Temple for many years and Seuss had already sensed it. Sadra, who had been watching from the side, suddenly laughed and said, "That's right, in terms of researching spirits, no one is more authoritative than Temple." Sadra and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. They were most worried that Temple was willing to promise to rule the Honorable Marshall Continent with Macefield Tradings in order to turn the situation around. Of course, even if that was the case, they had their reasons, as they had an alliance with Temple in the past. You only understand now? Sadra, you've regressed. The great clan elder's voice became even more fanatical. Temple needs a new life. The Honorable Marshall Continent needs a new life. Only I can give them a new life. What a pity, Sadra, you won't be able to see it. Sadra stared at Seuss, his face filled with shock. Great clan elder. If there was a way to resist the corrosion of time, Senior Xian would be able to exist for a long time. To the Macefield Tradings family, Senior Xian was their protector, and to be able to prevent their protector from disappearing, it was extremely valuable. When clan elder Seuss and Howl rushed to Macefield Tradings, Sadra and the rest were already seated in the hall. They had arrived earlier. Although they felt that Temple no longer had any methods to turn the tables, but no one dared to be careless at such a crucial time. The warning signs were extremely intense, causing all of the hairs on Tang Tian's body to stand. Chapter 9:14. The great clan elder has tricked all the enemies to come to Saint Continent. Saint Continent is a trap, and the great clan elder has definitely set up countless of killing moves. The spirit inside the holy flames started to melt, and golden drops of liquid started to seep out. The golden drops of liquid quickly seeped into the holy flames. The struggling of the spirit became weaker and weaker, it became smaller and dimmer, and when the last drop of golden liquid seeped into the holy flames, the initially blazing white holy flames became a noble pale gold. Whoosh, a wisp of white holy flames emerged from clan elder Seuss' neck. At that moment, no one cared about him as everyone was captivated by the terrifying scene. The stronger they were, the stronger the sense of danger they felt, as they stared at the regiment of golden holy flames as though they were facing a great enemy. What family's glory! What personal value! At this moment all of that had fled beyond the highest heavens. The intense fear enveloped him and he just wanted to get as far away from the damned place as possible. The headless Elder Seuss body was like a wooden stake that did not fall, not moving an inch, like a human-shaped candle that was stuck in the ground. That was the only thought in his mind. The unprecedented fear caused him to burst forth with an unprecedented potential, and with an unprecedented speed he rushed out. Clan Elder Seuss body seemed to be the best fuel for the holy flames. It burned extremely quickly, and in the blink of the eye, the holy flames had reached Clan Elder Seuss' waist, and the initially thick holy flames had become 100 times larger. Spirit, that is Clan Elder Seuss's spirit. But Tang Tian had never seen a true spirit before. Spirit generals were not spirits, as the secret behind the formation of spirit generals had not been completely unraveled. But the two had an inseparable relationship, and it was widely believed that spirit generals were formed from the obsession and spirit of a martial artist. They would never have thought that it was just a facade created by the great clan elder. In the eyes of Temple they were just a decoy used to numb the traditional aristocratic families, a decoy that would eventually be killed. Compared to the sacred Saint Galaxy, Tang Tian, who came from Heaven's Road, was more familiar with the concept of spirits. Spirit generals, spirit cards, were not anything special in Heaven's Road, but the most common objects. They had different grades, but their essence was the same. Many of the sinners who knew that they were going to be tied to the pillar of punishment would think of ways to commit suicide. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. I have finally escaped from that terrifying place. I have truly escaped with my life. However, Qiu Ning knew that this method was very scary and dangerous. When Seuss' last toe disappeared into the holy flames, the blazing white holy flames were dyed with a layer of gold. The blood drained from his face in an instant. His control of his aura was excellent, not revealing a single trace. Even Tang Tian was fooled. He had perfectly fooled everyone. Qiu Ning's expression changed again. Of course he had heard of the Pillar of Judgment. It was the most cruel punishment in Temple, and only the most unforgivable criminals would be tied to the Pillar of Punishment. The sinners who were tied to the Pillar of Punishment, their bodies would become fuel for the holy flames, slowly being burned by the holy flames. During the entire process the sinners would not die. On the contrary, their minds would be extremely clear and their perception would be enhanced countless times. The pain would also be multiplied countless times. In the distant horizon, pillars of golden flames shot into the sky from all directions, as if they were golden pillars that connected heaven and earth. When the armies of the four great aristocratic families appeared outside Snow City, he knew that the four great aristocratic families would most likely place the entire city under martial law. Once the entire city was placed under martial law, the security around Macefield Tradings would definitely become extremely tight, and at that time, it would be extremely difficult to sneak in. Temple is truly too terrifying. The great clan elder is truly too terrifying. Qiu Ning did not know how many times he had sighed. The place where clan elder Seuss stood was empty. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Every single muscle in his body tensed up. He rushed out for a few meters, then suddenly stopped. He raised his head and stared blankly at the distant horizon. From the start it was a trap. On Tang Tian's left flank, Jizai did not care too much. The dark red bewitching blade was dragged by his side. His hand that was holding onto the blade was extremely stable and unmoving, but his body that was leaning forward was like a beast that was preparing to pounce. Qiu Ning had snuck in 2 days earlier and managed to avoid the martial law. The noble and luxurious gold liquid permeated into the holy flames, causing the might of the holy flames to multiply. The noble and luxurious aura made him feel as though he was bleeding. Ever since the ringing of the holy bell, it was a meticulously laid-out trap by the great clan elder. Qiu Ning's mouth was filled with bitterness, thinking about his own family, thinking about the various aristocratic families. They all thought that it was an opportunity bestowed by the heavens, and all of them jumped into the pit of fire without hesitation, but who knew that the great clan elder had long wanted to take action against them. He had never been so afraid, so terrified. Wait a minute. The roof of the hall was extremely weak in front of the golden fiery pillars, and when the fiery pillars touched the roof, the entire roof was vaporized. Tang Tian's eyes constricted. Inside the blazing white holy flames, a faint figure was struggling in pain. His body froze, he turned his head in shock. The golden holy flames behind him soared into the sky. But the holy flames in front of him had completely toppled his impression of the holy flames. Xian also noticed the figure and exclaimed out, "How is that possible?" He rushed frantically towards Qiuyu's hiding spot. He did not have many friends. Qiuyu had grown up with him and their relationship was the best. He wanted to bring Qiuyu out alive. Everyone stared at the holy flames in shock. All of their faces revealed looks of shock. Even Tang Tian was no exception. What made him even more anxious was that following the holy flames' continuous strengthening, the quantity was gradually changing, the attributes of the holy flames were quietly changing and he could feel the changes. Xia did not speak any nonsense. She quickly retreated. She knew that something was amiss. And just like how Tang Tian would always believe in her judgment of the situation, she would always believe in her big brother Tian unconditionally in battle. Xiao Man was half a step behind Tang Tian, both of her hands holding onto her zanbato. She guarded Tang Tian's right flank, so that she could provide support at any time. Unknowingly, Xian had the undying sword in his hand. His frivolous face had an unprecedented seriousness as well as anger, a deep and endless anger. She looked at Xian who was not far away. The raging holy flames continued to spurt out in all directions. Seuss, who was left with only half a body, had transformed from a human-shaped candle into a huge human-shaped torch. Qiu Ning had silently concealed himself. He had already concealed himself for 2 days and 2 nights. Tang Tian stared intently at the burning corpse. His forehead was covered with a layer of perspiration, his back was even more drenched. "That is not a spirit, General." Tang Tian immediately sensed it. When the golden droplets appeared in the holy flames, Qiu Ning felt his entire body turn cold. The bone-chilling intent seeped into the deepest parts of his bones. The golden pillar of flames shot into the sky. The holy and cold aura was emitted from the thick and solid golden pillar of flames. That was his deepest experience for the day. He had never felt such fear towards the great clan elder who was just a symbol in his mind. It was Temple's cruelest punishment, a place that was even crueler and more painful than hell. "Stay far away from here." The pure and gentle white holy flames were still majestic and holy, releasing an aura that made people bow down to it. But the scene in front of them revealed an indescribable strangeness, causing everyone to feel a chill down their spines. The great clan elder did not even want to let go of the wavering new prestigious families. He wanted to catch them all in one fell swoop. From the start, Temple had always been supporting and roping in the new prestigious families. Everyone thought that Temple wanted to use them to deal with the traditional prestigious families, and even the new prestigious families were pleased with themselves, thinking that they had a bargaining chip in their hands, a bargaining chip that they could use to benefit from both sides. Everyone's face changed and the people who were closer all retreated. The holy flames had become stronger and also more dangerous. The feeling of surviving a calamity caused his body to relax, and his footsteps to become lighter. He planned to leave the place immediately, leave Snow City and leave Saint Continent. The raging holy flames did not have any berserk aura. It was still majestic and holy, but even more intense, as though there was a god emperor looking down on all living beings. Even the air seemed to be enveloped by the majesty, and an invisible pressure enveloped everyone. No one stopped him. In a blur he had rushed out of the hall and onto the streets. Sadra's shocked voice came out from behind him. Tang Tian had fought with Roger before, and was not unfamiliar with the honorable martial holy flames. In that exchange he had suppressed Roger the entire time and did not give him any chance. At that time, although he felt that the Banner of Knights truly lived up to their name, but he felt that he had some confidence. "Temple, this is Temple. Saint Continent is in danger. Temple is too terrifying. The great clan elder is too terrifying, too deranged." Qiu Ning did not hesitate. He did not care about being exposed and used all of his strength to rush out. The white holy flames continued to burn silently. Temple had not used the pillar of punishment for many years, but it had actually appeared here. He did not retreat but took a step forward and protected Xia behind him. Clan Elder Seuss's soul struggled in the holy flames. The holy flames continued to burn silently, but for some reason, everyone seemed to be able to hear the heart-wrenching screams. Qiu Ning was still searching for an opportunity, but the situation had changed so quickly that he was caught unprepared. Clan Elder Seuss's transformation almost caused him to cry. Qiu Ning immediately judged that the victor of the battle would only be one person, the great clan elder. A trap. What the hell is going on? Qiu Ning's figure had just reached the door, when he suddenly felt something explode behind him. A holy and ice-cold aura enveloped his body. His position was extremely ingenious. It was right above the Great Hall, behind the beam. The tense atmosphere in the hall caused everyone to be extremely nervous, and no one noticed him. The intense fear filled every corner of his body, causing his mind to go blank for a moment. He had never encountered such a situation before. The scene was so cruel, so vicious, it had exceeded the limits of what he could imagine. Since a long time ago, Qiu Ning had rarely felt surprised. He felt that he could calmly face all the strange things in the world and would not feel fear. But today he was truly frightened. Bang! He was not stupid for the great clan elder to dare to do such a crazy and deranged thing. He definitely had a meticulous plan. Such a lively soul appeared in front of Tang Tian's eyes, and it was extremely shocking. When the blazing white holy flames spewed out from Clan Elder Seuss's broken neck, all of the hairs on his body stood. The silhouette was actually Clan Elder Seuss. The two of them were not on the same level. Roger's holy flames were weak flames, but the holy flames in front of him were like the flames of a volcano erupting. Pillars of punishment. Qiu Ning suddenly turned. Behind him, golden pillars of flames continued to shoot into the sky. She knew why Xin was angry. She was equally angry. To even make use of other people's souls, it is truly too vicious. When the soul was completely incinerated, it meant that he would truly perish, and even the possibility of becoming a spirit general would be lost. Thinking about what the great clan elder had said, that he would not let any of the prestigious families go, Qiu Ning could not guess what the great clan elder was going to do next. What kind of method can deal with all of the prestigious families? As a spirit general, the feeling was even more intense. Leave the Saint Continent. I need to leave the Saint Continent immediately. As for a pure living soul, no one had ever seen one before. He was extremely cold, even if he was born in the Qiu family, a family that held grudges against Temple, but in his heart Temple was still worthy of respect and holiness. He had never thought that such a terrifying and crazy thing would actually come from Temple. Step back a little. Tang Tian spoke to Chia without turning his head. The great clan elder had such deep foresight. Everyone was being toyed with by him and no one could see through his intentions. He was so cold and emotionless. Clan Elder Seuss was loyal and devoted to him, but he had lit a candle on him and even his soul was not spared. His intuition was extremely sharp and the feeling was much more intense than anyone else. Seuss's flesh and blood melted like wax, and was engulfed by the white holy flames. Everyone watched as the corpse melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the holy flames grew stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qiu Ning suppressed the fear in his heart, and rushed out without caring about anything else. He knew that at such a time he had to be even more decisive. Any hesitation or thoughts of luck would only cause him to lose the best chance to escape. And it's the great clan elder that is revered by the entire world. No one knew what was going on, but everyone's hearts were filled with unease, as though something terrifying was happening. But no one knew how to stop it. Even smashing their skulls was useless. They could only watch quietly. No one knew what the holy flames were, but they knew that all of the great clan elders' plans were in the terrifying golden holy flames. A golden pillar of flames surged out from the golden holy flames and soared into the sky. Clan Elder Seuss's head was smashed into pieces, revealing half of his neck. Everyone could clearly see the pale white bones and the blood and flesh. Under normal circumstances, the blood that spurted out would form a blood mist. But the strange thing was that not a single drop of blood flowed out from Seuss's neck. But he quickly regained his senses. When he regained his senses, Qiu Ning's first reaction was to escape. The golden holy flames swallowing and spitting of flames became extremely slow, as though every swallowing and spitting of flames was extremely heavy. It was like a god that had awoken from its slumber, and slowly gazed at all living beings. Its gaze seemed to be able to shatter the world. Chapter 9:15. We should have died for Temple to let the clan elders take the lead. It is too discouraging. Yes, give up your life and become a spirit general. Sophie stared at the figure in the flames. Without warmth, the corrosion of time will cause your memories to slowly fade. You will forget your family, forget your lover, and become a killing machine. How is that any different from death? I do not know if there will be a position for me in the future, nor do I know if I will lead Temple to the light or the darkness. No, I am right. Those damned rich families, they relied on their past achievements to obstruct temple, they must die. The golden holy flame flowed on the floor of the honorable martial palace. The great clan elder did not look old at all, he was still as imposing as when he was young. The great clan elder stared at the light sculptures on the walls of the honorable martial palace. The countless heroes on them were extremely lifelike. It was the honorable martial palace's epic. Every important battle that honorable martial palace had experienced, every elder that had contributed to temple were engraved. For the 10,000-year plan of temple, all the sacrifices were worth it. And the great clan elder had used inconceivable victories to prove his trust in him, and he had never let him down. Sophie was silent. This is a gamble that we can't afford to lose. Every single person in temple will become a bargaining chip and be placed on the table. The cold and emotionless words were like daggers that pierced into everyone's hearts. The great clan elder's voice was filled with ridicule. Everything that you have was given to you by temple. Every single one of you swore that you would give up everything for temple, including everything you have. But now, temple needs all of you to die, but all of you have retreated. The light cocoons lined up neatly, there were no longer any sounds, and a vague figure could be seen inside. The figure in the flames waved his hand, causing countless sparks to fly. Do what we have to do, since our hands are already stained with the blood of our own people, then the blood of our enemies is the best wine. How can we return without getting drunk? Are they the only ones walking towards death? Out of the 564 clan elders in temple, 342 of them have already died. They did not even have the chance to become spirit generals. They have been reduced to ashes and nothing is left. They have given their souls to temple, and before they die, they will suffer the pain of their souls burning. The remaining elders will be burned into holy flames before sunset tomorrow. An indifferent voice came out from the flames. All the honorable martial knights raised their heads involuntarily, their faces filled with shock. Leader. A knight of light stood up and said, "Great elder is right. We can't decide how we die, but I have never forgotten my oath." Taffy bent down and said with respect and certainty, "Of course not. Your will is the light." Taffy bowed even lower. As he had been in power for so many years, half of the elders in temple were personally chosen by him. These clan elders were all powerful and outstanding, which could be seen from their progress in training the holy flame. Many of the elders were actually more like his students, but all of them were going to give up everything for this gamble. Sophie stood up. "I stopped them. Charles is already dead. I don't want them to die too," Sophie said in a low voice. "Captain, we will be spirit generals in the future. We will not look down on you anymore. They died because of me. I deserve this." A sigh came out from the flames. "But this is our responsibility, our generation's responsibility. Blood and reputation can be sacrificed, and we can only sacrifice. If we do not take care of these aristocratic families, we will miss an extremely rare opportunity, a chance to unify the world. We need to sacrifice ourselves. Only then can we leave a clean, honorable martial continent for our successors." "I don't care." The voice from the flames was old and firm, filled with arrogance and disdain. The flames flew wantonly, and Taffy felt as though he was looking at the young figure that made him submit to him. The figure in the flames raised his hand, and pressed his palm that was enveloped in flames onto the radiant sun above the sculpture. He needed a strong honorable martial continent. Only with one voice could the honorable martial continent be truly strong, to be able to defeat the Southern Alliance, to be able to unify the world, and to be able to conquer Heaven's Road. He had personally created all of this, and from the moment he started to impart the holy flame to them, the plan had quietly unfolded. He initially thought that with so many years of mental preparation he would be able to face it calmly, but when he personally saw the golden pillars of flames soaring into the sky, he felt as though his heart was being stabbed by knives. The flaming door disappeared behind the great clan elder, and in front of him was the honorable martial banner of knights. The great clan elder was obviously enraged by the situation. His voice was filled with anger. "Why did you not carry out the plan? If they lost, they would lose all the clan elders and temple would only exist in name. And such a crazy and bloody method would cause temple to become an existence that the entire honorable martial continent despised, and no one would forgive them. There were too many voices in the honorable martial continent. They will not die," the great clan elder said. Taffy bowed slightly, just like a few decades ago. The plan is going smoothly. The number of pillars of punishment that have been activated has already reached 342. Tears flowed down Sophie's face. Only by succeeding could everyone's sacrifice be meaningful, and their decades of hard work would not be wasted. This was truly a huge gamble. If they won, Temple would no longer have any restraints, the entire honorable martial continent would only have one master, and Temple's will would be carried out in every corner of the honorable martial continent. It was the deepest wish of every great clan elder, but no one had ever fulfilled it and no one had ever given up on it. The great clan elder in the flames stared straight at Sophie, his angry roar disappeared and his voice became gloomy. Why? Clan elder Ta Fei looked at the empty honorable martial palace and became absent-minded. When his gaze finally landed on the golden figure at the top of the sacred palace, his originally absent-minded gaze suddenly became excited, but very quickly, it became complicated again. All of the honorable martial banner of knights stood up. They lined up neatly and stood in front of Sophie. "Commander, wait for us to come out." Silence, a stifling silence. "Yes, there is no difference, maybe it is better to die." The figure in the flames was not angry, but his tone suddenly became stern. "But other than being your soldiers, they are still honorable martial banner of knights, giving up everything for Temple, that is their meaning regardless of whether they live or die." "Commander, we will definitely fight side by side." White holy flames surged out from the sun, and then spread out, transforming into a white flaming door. The great clan elder took a step forward and stepped into the flaming door. The great clan elder of the flaming door disappeared at the same time. Sophie raised her head, her gaze was calm and clear. "They are my soldiers, I cannot let them die for nothing." The golden holy flames extended out from the bottom and quickly enveloped the light cocoon. The holy flames continued to seep into the light cocoon, causing the indistinct figure inside to struggle in pain. Everyone bowed to Sophie. Every generation of the higher-ups of Temple were determined to forge ahead. They viewed the expansion of Temple as their own lives, and the great clan elder was no exception. It was because of the seniors and elders advancing wave after wave, that the honorable martial temple had its current state. Ta Fei's gaze once again became as firm as steel. The honorable martial banner of knights turned and stepped into the white circle of light behind them. The moment they stepped into the circle of light seemed to have come to life, producing a white screen of light that gradually rose. The white screen of light rose above their heads, converging into a cocoon of light that enveloped them. A look of longing flashed past his eyes. That's right, to be able to leave behind a clean honorable martial continent for future generations. It is such a beautiful thing. Ta Fei was never a soft-hearted person, his hands had been stained with blood countless times. However, this gamble still made his heart ache. "Commander, don't die in front of us." "How is it?" he suddenly asked. The golden holy flames around his body silently swallowed. A chuckle came out from the flames. The great clan elder sighed. "I know you can't bear to, and neither can I. You know me, although I am not a benevolent person, but I am not a bloodthirsty person either. No, I just don't want them to die in vain." Sophie did not avoid the great clan elder's gaze. "They are soldiers. They should die on the battlefield. And not in this dark corner, dying for the sake of becoming a spirit general. Eternal light. Even if I take revenge for him, he will not live, but everyone will die." Sophie shook his head. "They can die on the battlefield, but I don't want them to die like this." Sophie stood at the front of the group, remaining silent. Ta Fei stood up, he felt his entire body brimming with energy. "My life is coming to an end, to be able to display my last bit of light and warmth before I die. What regrets do I have?" Ta Fei's heart warmed, he laughed. "You are actually so courteous, I am not used to it." He had followed the great clan elder for over 10 years, and obeying the great clan elder had long become his creed. Regardless of how difficult it was or how dangerous the situation was, he would always stand by the great clan elder's side, protecting him. "No one has the right to choose, Sophie," the great clan elder said. "This is a war and you will never be able to decide where your battlefield will be, just like how you cannot decide how you die. What I can do is to make sure that your deaths do not lose their meaning. And it is to the best of my ability. I cannot guarantee anything, but we have no other choice. Your painstaking efforts will definitely be remembered," Ta Fei said sincerely. All the anger disappeared and the figure in the flames was startled. After a moment he said, Yes, Charles is already dead, but we must take revenge for him. 342. The great clan elder muttered as though he was deeply moved, as though he was sighing. To groom 342 clan elders it was not easy, and it is all your credit. All these years I did not manage much, it has been hard on you. But this time. So they had to win. Only by winning could they wantonly write their history. Another honorable martial banner of knights stood up. I swear to protect the light with my life. All the hesitation and distracting thoughts flashed past his mind, and his gaze quickly regained clarity. He had been through countless of storms and knew that the plan had already begun, and they had no other way out. Chapter 9:16. The sky. Could it be the sky? Howl's face was filled with shock and fear. The great clan elder is crazy. To use this to seal the entire Saint Continent, how many temple clan elders will die? No one doubted the great clan elder's words of wiping out everyone in one fell swoop. The grand scene before them seemed to be describing the great clan elder's lofty aspirations. The rain-like light auras brought forth terrifying whistles as they struck one of the pillars of punishment. What is its use? Tang Tian racked his brains. If he could understand the usage of the pillars of punishment, he would be able to come up with a countermeasure. But a shocking scene occurred. All of the attacks were like clay oxen entering the ocean. They did not cause any ripples. To be able to maintain his composure in such a situation, and give out orders in an orderly manner, Sadra is truly not a simple person. Including Tang Tian, everyone's faces became extremely ugly. You only understand now? Sadra, you've regressed. Huh. A special method. Could it be that these pillars of punishment are used to seal the Saint Continent? Tang Tian took a deep breath and calmed the anxiety in his heart. He knew that it was useless to be anxious at the moment, but the intense sense of danger enveloped his heart, and the immense pressure pressed down on him like a mountain. Truly extravagant. In Tang Tian's vision, there were more than 10 pillars of holy flames, and in the distant horizon, there were even more pillars of golden flames soaring into the sky. Back to the main topic, Tang Tian forced himself to calm down, and focused on the situation in front of him. Tang Tian sighed in his heart. It had been a long time since he had such admiration for someone. He had personally witnessed how the pillars of punishment were formed. It was Clan Elder Seuss who was incinerated into ashes that created the pillars of punishment. Such a grand scene with so many pillars of punishment, how many clan elders must be incinerated to death? Behind such a grand scene, how much danger and killing intent is hidden? How cold is it? Hearing that, the rest all relaxed. That's right, although they are temporarily unable to leave the Saint Continent, but to kill them we need to fight with real swords and spears. But the strength that Temple could bring out was pitifully little. As for starving to death, that was even more ridiculous. Sandra did not expect the great elder to research such an obscure thing, and it seemed like he had made a breakthrough. He had never heard of the pillars of punishment needing human lives to be activated. You want to deal with all the prestigious families. The great elder's strength surpassed any enemy he had encountered in the past. He was shrewd, cunning, ruthless, decisive, and filled with patience. He could tell that the first elder had secretly prepared this situation for decades. When the first patriarch and Sandra were still friends, the first patriarch had already predicted everything that would happen and started to prepare for it. How powerful and unfathomable he was. Tang Tian was a little excited. He felt that he had found the key to this. The position of the pillars of punishment was not at the estuary, showing that Temple's method was not to seal the estuary. If it was not the estuary, they could seal the Saint Continent. The great elder lived in seclusion, and the outside world knew very little about his personality and temper. However, Sandro had fought side by side with the great elder when he was young, and he knew that the great elder was very interested in new things. When the great elder was still young, he was already extremely interested in the most abstruse research of spirits, and had spent a lot of time on it. But Sandro had once advised him that rather than wasting time on the abstruse research of spirits, it was better to spend more time on projects that had hope of success. How many died? Moe Goose snorted. I reckon that all of them are dead. But what's the use of trapping us? Other than the Banner of Knights, what other armies do they have? Huh? Don't tell me they expect us to starve to death? Tang Tian raised his head and looked at the towering pillars of punishment, which extended deep into the sky. Sandro's calmness infected the prestigious alliance. The other patriarchs quickly calmed down and started to issue orders. The armies under them were all elites and they knew what they needed to do at such a time. A large number of scouts were sent out like sand. Although they could not fly at high altitudes, they could fly at low altitudes without any obstruction. That is definitely an unconventional method. What exactly is it? As expected, they want to catch us all in one fell swoop. Huolu Shang's face was ashen. Even Tang Tian and the rest were attracted. They were curious. Can the pillars of punishment be destroyed? Since the great clan elder wanted to wipe out all the prestigious families, he definitely needed to seal the Saint Continent. To them it was a good thing. Both parties were allies and Tang Tian did not wish for his ally to be a useless ally. After confirming his guess when they reached a height of 30 m, Tang Tian did not force himself, but followed the force back to the ground. The most eye-catching thing was that a military general was currently organizing his soldiers, preparing to launch a probing attack on the pillars of punishment. What is Temple trying to do? In the blink of the eye, the bodyguard's flesh was incinerated into ashes by the holy flames, as though the holy flames had eaten their fill and dispersed, and once again entered the pillars of punishment. The great clan elder is a ruthless person who views human lives as worthless grass. The moment Tang Tian left the ground, he felt a powerful aura descending from the sky as though Mt. Tai was pressing down on him. The power that could topple mountains and overturn seas suppressed Tang Tian's entire body, leaving him with nowhere to hide. The imposing and cold aura struck straight into his heart, causing him to want to kneel down and worship it. Normally, the best way to seal a continent was to seal the estuaries. But the estuaries of the Saint Continent were too many. Furthermore, Temple had very few armies in their hands, and they were unable to seal all the estuaries. Temple had to use some special methods to seal the Saint Continent. Every time he went up, the pressure would multiply as though the pressure was boundless. After going up a few meters, the sky above Tang Tian's head suddenly lit up with a golden light screen. The surging golden holy flames spewed out from the pillars of punishment, transforming into a golden light screen that enveloped the sky above Tang Tian's head. He shook his head at Chia and Ah Exen, indicating that they were unable to resist it. Behind the mask, Tang Tian's face was filled with shock. He did not know what the pillars of punishment were, but he could roughly guess that the Honorable Martial Alliance had something similar. But the scene in front of him was truly too shocking. It was difficult to judge the height of the pillars with the naked eye. They towered into the clouds as though they were holding up the sky. Everyone below were stunned by the bloody scene in front of them. Could it be that the pillars of punishment have something special about them? The conversation between Sadra and the great clan elder flashed past Tang Tian's mind, and reminded Tang Tian. The great clan elder wanted to deal with the aristocratic families, and also the new prestigious families, and definitely did not use conventional methods. Conventional methods would not allow the great clan elder to achieve his goal. Be careful. Sadra said, stay away from the pillars of punishment as much as possible. They might have offensive capabilities, and be especially careful of the holy flames. Send more people to investigate the surroundings. Temple definitely has other tricks up their sleeves. Tang Tian's ascension suddenly stopped, but he quickly continued to ascend, but at a much slower speed than before. The phenomenon in the sky in Tang Tian's attempt was clearly seen by everyone on the ground, and all of their faces changed. One of the bodyguards who boasted of his strength also followed Tang Tian and flew up, but upon ascending 10 m, his body suddenly exploded like a watermelon. The holy flames in the sky were like vultures that had seen their prey and swarmed over. Tang Tian suppressed the shock in his heart and quickly calmed down. In battle, Tang Tian was extremely calm and sharp. He carefully observed the positions of the pillars of punishment and the distance between them. Since the great clan elder did not hesitate to sacrifice the temple clan elder's life to create the pillars of punishment, then they definitely have their own unique uses. Sadra did not say anything and only looked at the towering pillars of punishment. He had some suspicions in his heart. Where does the great clan elder's confidence come from? Why does he have such confidence? He glanced at Tang Tian. My own bodyguard did not even leap 10 m before his body exploded, but the iron-masked soldier flew at least 30 m and landed safely. How is his body so strong? The military general did not believe it and simply pulled out his entire army to attack the pillars of punishment, but it did not affect them at all. Regardless of how berserk the energy was, once it entered the pillars of punishment, It would be devoured by the holy flames. A stern look flashed past Tang Tian's eyes. He snorted, the light aura around his body exploded out. He stepped on the air as though he was ascending to the heavens. He ascended step by step. He had never been so nervous in battle before, and it was the first time. But it was a pity that he did not study much about the pillars of punishment. It was not only him, everyone else did not study much about it. Even in temple no one would study it. The pillars of punishment was a method of punishment and it was rarely used. As Tang Tian descended, the omnipresent pressure immediately disappeared without a trace. The holy flames that converged in the sky were like a school of fish that had lost their prey, and once again entered the pillars of punishment. He must have had a breakthrough on the pillars of punishment. The golden pillars of flames spat out tongues of flame. The flames were clearly powerful, but they remained silent. They were like wild beasts entrenched in the pillars of flames, quietly swallowing and spitting, watching coldly from the sidelines, but the holy qi was like an exploding wave, wreaking havoc in the surroundings. The golden holy flames swallowed silently. The gigantic pillar of flames was like a gigantic beast that could devour everything. After absorbing the attack, the holy flames that spiraled around the pillars of punishment became even stronger, and the golden light of the holy flames became even more intense. Everyone finally understood the use of the pillars of punishment. The current Saint Continent was like a huge cage and everyone was trapped in the Saint Continent. The holy and imposing golden holy flames looked like the dark flames of a demon in everyone's eyes. Sadra was surprised by Tang Tian's performance, but Tang Tian was also surprised by Sadra's performance. He felt as though he was in the deep sea. Every step he took was extremely difficult. The terrifying pressure was pressing down on him from all directions, and he could even hear the bones in his body creaking. His heart trembled. His body could be said to be forged from copper and iron, and was one of the most tyrannical bodies in the world. If he was in such a state, then the others would definitely be crushed into meat paste under the pressure. Thinking about that, Sadra's heart sank. Tang Tian's heart moved and he suddenly exerted strength in his legs. Chapter 9:17. No one knew that in the depths of her heart, there was an unknown struggle and fear. He had received an order from the High Command Department, and he did not find it strange. Although he had been at the rear recently, but regardless of whether it was the recruitment of soldiers or the construction of the defensive line to delay Moxian, he had completed them all beautifully and had outstanding achievements. When the last wisp of smoke dissipated into the air, everyone who witnessed the scene had their faces drained of blood. Their hearts were filled with unease, even if they knew that Temple could not wipe out all the prestigious families, but they would definitely make an example out of them. Temple held the absolute advantage. If they did not wipe out a few families, how could they intimidate the people? The various patriarchs were all praying that they would not be picked. They discussed softly on how to make Temple accept their loyalty, and how to prevent their families from being wiped out. In a night, the three great generals at the front lines had an unbridgeable gap and wariness. All of the arrangements had been completed, and it was time to reap the harvest. Compared to them, Tang Tian was much calmer. Although Sadra and the rest wanted to reclaim their authority from Temple, but they were still filled with fear towards Temple and the great clan elder. Tang Tian did not. In his eyes, Temple was his enemy. Although they were strong, they were not invincible, and he had never looked up to Temple. Regardless of whether it was light or darkness, it made no difference to him. "Young miss, something doesn't seem right." Xiao Man spoke softly to Chia. Her expression was strange, but her tone was uncertain. She glanced at everyone. No one seems to have noticed anything. Could it be my misconception? She was not too confident. After reporting to the master, Xie Yuan walked out of the High Command Department. His expression was normal, but he had some suspicions in his heart. But there were even more who agreed. "That's right. Is Temple treating us as enemies? We have always been loyal to Temple. We have never been disloyal." He did not feel any joy in his heart, but instead felt an indescribable heaviness. He knew that he would be the final victor. He knew that Temple would be reborn, but at that moment he did not feel any joy from victory. Every cocoon of light that lost its luster meant the death of a life, and the chance to become a spirit general was lost. Although the war had not ended, but the Southern Alliance had already expanded to the entire southern region. The initially loose southern region, under the stimulation of the war, finally understood that only by uniting as one could they resist against the honorable Marshall Continent's invasion, and they all joined the Southern Alliance. The The price of this victory was so great that it made him speechless. He had even met up with Tang Tian 2 days ago, and listened to Tang Tian talk about the situation of the Honorable Martial Continent. The news of the Honorable Martial Continent's internal strife was told to him by Tang Tian. Bing felt that it was a good opportunity, and used the power of the Southern Alliance to spread the news. Even Go Qing Wendao and the rest only knew about it through Bing's intentional spreading. Macefield Trading's quietened down. Sadra and the rest could no longer care about Tang Tian. They were trying their best to gather their strength. They knew that once they were imprisoned, what awaited them would be Temple's thunderous rage. For this scheme, Temple had paid a huge price, causing everyone to be speechless. After paying such a huge price to set up this trap, no one would doubt how terrifying the killer move prepared would be. He had long become the idol of the entire southern region. Tang Tian was surprised Xiao Ran did not have any presence beside Chia. Other than bullying Ah Exen, she did not seem to have any other performance. Ah Exen was even more surprised than Tang Tian. His face quickly revealed a naughty smile. If not for the young miss being there, he would have blown a whistle. With an indescribable fear, she tried her best to control her emotions and maintain a distance from the world. Even if it was Charles, she had never allowed herself to cross the line in her heart. Maybe her life was just a bubble and she was trying to control herself to maintain it for a longer period of time. But no one would have thought that the first to discover it was not Chia or Ah Exen, but Xiao Ran, who did not have any presence. Even the wild beasts in the forest would struggle on their deathbed. How could Temple, a colossal being, allow itself to be captured? Bing's poker face was faintly discernible. The floor beneath his feet was littered with cigarette butts. He stared at the military map on the wall, maintaining that position for a long time without moving. The pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through the entire world in front of the military map were filled with worry. That was what Bing had always been thinking about. Until Charles's sudden death made her realize how laughable her restraint was. At the start I did not notice it, but after that I started to worry if there was any hidden danger. Xiao Ran gradually calmed down and her words became more organized. After that I carefully checked on my body, and realized that I seemed to have become stronger. Temple's victory was in sight and everyone was a hero. All of the intelligent patriarchs knew that it was time to show their loyalty and to choose a side. From the moment she woke up, she felt that her life was filled with all sorts of illusions. It was as though the life that she was feeling was just a bubble that was being blown, reflecting the beautiful splendor, but there was nothing inside, and when the wind blew past, nothing would be left behind. Thinking about the scene that she had captured, the joy in her heart dissipated. She did not hate the great clan elder. When the darkness swallowed all the light, it was also the beginning of dawn. Chia encouraged her gently. Xiao Ran, don't be nervous, regardless of whether it was an illusion or not, tell us. When the last pillar of punishment rose from the Saint Continent, the sky of the Saint Continent turned completely gold. There were no sun or clouds in the sky. Only the golden holy flames flowed wantonly, silently burning the sky. And he knew that the reason why the High Command headquarters transferred him back was not just to promote him, but because the war had entered a new stage. Just that. In the darkness, Sophie propped up her chin and stared into the distance, as though she was trying to see through the endless darkness. She did not know why it had become like that, just like how she did not know why Sacred Son Charles would suddenly leave for another world, and did not even have the time to bid farewell to her. Xiao Ran's previous slash did not produce any sound, and the sound of the wind was extremely restrained. Xiao Ran could do it normally, but it was definitely not as easy. They were hesitant and did not know what to do and were even more worried about the future. If the aristocratic alliance won, it would be fine, but if Temple won, they would die without a burial ground. The tragic wails only stopped when the last piece of their flesh was incinerated. Bing also knew that the decisive battle between Tang Tian and Temple was nearing, and at such a crucial moment, the connection between him and Tang Tian was suddenly cut off, immediately causing Bing to sense danger. So when everyone's eyes were attracted to her, she was even more unaccustomed and became nervous. It might be my misconception. Both sides on the battlefield realized that the scales of the war had started to tilt towards the Southern Alliance, and the morale of both sides had a complete change. The Southern Alliance's morale was greatly boosted, their fear towards the honorable Martial Continent was swept away, and they were extremely optimistic towards victory. The Southern Alliance, who was in a good situation, their reputation was like the sun in the sky. The Southern Alliance's opponent was the Honorable Martial Continent, the extremely powerful Temple, which made the Southern Alliance's victory even more convincing, and the Southern Alliance's strength was recognized by everyone. No one believed that Temple would do such a crazy thing. All of these spirit generals were picked out from 100, and all of them had gone through the cruelest selection process and were extremely powerful. Maybe the spirit generals that were created did not belong to the world in the first place. Furthermore, he had the God Armor Army, Xie and Axin by his side. With his own strength and Xie and Axin's intellect, he was filled with confidence. The armies on the ground were panicking. There were people who flew into the sky, but were instantly incinerated by the holy flames. The sky was completely sealed. The holy flames at the estuary became even denser. A gold-grade warship attempted to rush out, but upon approaching, the ferocious gold holy flames struck the warship like the tongue of a demonic beast. The gold-grade warship that was famed for its defensive capabilities only lasted for 20 seconds before transforming into a gigantic fireball. It was not the first time when Tang Tian was in the Sin domain their connection was cut off. At that time he was not as worried as he was today. He developed the Southern Alliance methodically, because he believed that Tang Tian would definitely be able to find the path to the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Almost all of the patriarchs were secretly rejoicing in their hearts, although they had some ambiguous actions, but they did not publicly break off relations with Temple. Since they did not publicly break off relations, Temple could not take action against them. And with so many families, Temple could not possibly massacre all of them, right? The great clan elder gazed into the distance. The last pillar of punishment soared into the sky as he remained silent. At the start she would feel discouraged, but after a long time she got used to it. She was used to waiting for Xin to find the problem, and with the young Mrs. order she would use a ferocious charge to end the battle. Bing had immediately sent out a large number of scouts to try and find out what was happening in the Saint Continent. But he knew that distant water could not quench the current thirst. He needed time. The sudden change was something that the Southern Alliance was unable to react in time. Go Qing Wendao's worries were the exact opposite. Everyone's eyes lit up. They immediately understood what Xiao Ran meant by becoming stronger. But this time no one seems to have noticed it. Could it be my misconception? Becoming stronger? Inside the meeting hall, smoke lingered around. Everyone was startled. Even Xin, who had a mischievous look on his face, was startled. She had always felt that she had done well. What is Temple trying to do? A fat patriarch wiped his sweat and could not help but ask. We have always listened to Temple and have never gone against their orders. But it was different this time. From Go Qing Wendao, who occupied the Shang continent, being heavily injured, to delaying Moxn and Chiu Su Hua, they had dug a huge pit for the Honorable Martial Continent. It is too cruel. Temple's foundation was extremely deep and profound, causing people to be fearful and fearful. Bing and Temple had fought for so long, and his understanding of Temple's danger was much deeper than anyone else. Regardless of whether it was Temple's armies or great generals, they were all outstanding, reflecting that Temple's grooming of talents and the construction of armies far surpassed the other powerhouses. Any Honorable Martial Continent's armies encountered attacks and resistance that far exceeded the initial phase of the war, causing them to feel as though they were in a quagmire. The war had become even more difficult, and if one were to say that it was not enough to crush their morale, then the rumors of the internal strife in the Honorable Martial Continent had caused them to be disheartened. The ones who were the most affected were Chiu Su Hua and Moxn. The actions of the Chiu and Mo families made the two of them extremely awkward. Bing could only try his best to speculate on the possible killing techniques that Temple had, as well as how he could help Tang Tian and the rest. The battles in the Saint Continent could only rely on Tang Tian and Xie themselves, and Bing was unable to help. But, on the battlefield, can I give Tang Tian some support? When many people saw the order, they immediately congratulated Xie Yuan from the bottom of their hearts. To them, the outstanding Xie Yuan's promotion was a sure thing. Master Xie Yuan's promotion was something that everyone expected, and in the eyes of the majority of the citizens, no one in the entire Southern Alliance had contributed more than Master Xie Yuan's spirit generals do not like sunlight. I have to do something, Bing secretly decided in his heart. The sudden change made him feel extremely dangerous, and he had not felt such a feeling for a long time. The intense fear made Sadra and the rest do their best to gather their armies. Only by doing so could they feel a sense of security. He suddenly raised his head, his eyes flashing with a light aura. I think we found out what Temple's killing technique is. When the great clan elder wanted to turn the honorable martial banner of knights that she had personally trained into spirit generals, she was only left with sorrow. Since a long time ago she had been worried that the great clan elder would create new spirit generals. The lives of spirit generals were gray and they had no future. She never expected that her greatest worry would come true. It was the first time she went against the great clan elder's orders, but just like her fate and fear, it was all futile. All of the clan elders of Temple, the entire banner of knights, had become the gambling chips. How much blood and sweat did Temple spend on them to nurture them to their current state? After this battle there will be nothing left. He did not know how many of the 5 great generals would be left. He also understood that even the prestigious families, how many years had they spent to grow to their current state, how many talents they had, how much resources they had. The ashes were the most fertile soil and Temple would obtain a new life. The holy flames around the great clan elder surged violently. Xianxia was also happy. He was a pure military general and firmly believed that his home would be the battlefield, and even more so, participating in the battle was more important than anything else. But what truly allowed the Southern Alliance to take the initiative in the battlefield was the internal struggle for power in the honorable Martial Continent. Xianxia never expected that the honorable Martial Continent would actually erupt in internal strife at such a crucial moment. The honorable Martial Continent's internal strife was extremely sudden and intense. All sorts of rumors flew everywhere, causing people to be unable to catch up. The people around him could not help but look at him in disdain. He is a fence-sitter. He has always been waiting for the right price, and wanted to obtain benefits from both sides. Temple's final glory actually needs a group of spirit generals to protect it. Alright, maybe it is everyone's fate. The honorable Martial Continent's internal strife is the node of the war, the node where the Southern Alliance turned from defense to offense. That must be it. Sophie felt cold and sorrow surfaced in her heart. She had long known that it would be like this, but so what? Even if I survive, no, how can that be counted as surviving? Sophie did not know why, but the sorrow in her heart became even denser. She could sacrifice everything for Temple. She did not lack the will to die for Temple, but she did not want to do it in such a manner. Xiao Ran was startled, but she immediately reacted, and immediately turned and walked towards the Spirit General Army. Chia's Spirit General Army in the ancient battlefield had experienced countless battles, and after a long journey, only a few hundred of them were left in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. When he reported to Master Bing, he realized that Master Bing's expression had a trace of worry. Although Master Bing had concealed it well, but Xianxia still noticed it. Xianxia's heart was filled with suspicions. The situation is obviously good. Why is Master still worried? On normal days, other than protecting the young miss, her mission was to lead the assault. She was more confident in her own martial strength, but in other aspects she knew her own standard. Needless to say about the young miss, in her heart, the young miss was an invincible god of war. Even Exen, who was usually mischievous, had an acute sense of smell on the battlefield, and his quick reaction speed far surpassing her. After Xiao Ran explained the reason, Exen immediately inspected himself. Although he was strong, but that strength was reflected in the aspect of commanding an army to fight. His control over his own body could not compare to Xiao Ran, who was proficient in individual martial strength. Luckily for the young Mrs. encouragement, she mustered some courage. I feel that my own strength has become stronger. Another light cocoon was gradually dimming. The figure inside the light cocoon was struggling with all his might, but Sophie knew that it was futile. She had already watched as more than half of the light cocoons completely lost their light auras, and no longer had any signs of life. She was unable to hate the great clan elder. He was her creator, and like a father he gave her care and love. With that said, the Zanbato in Xiao Ran's hand slashed vertically and a figure flashed in the air. Xianxia was not too agitated after the bloody battle. He had become much steadier. The blood of his comrades had soaked his metal and it felt heavy. Yes, I don't know why, but I feel that the holy flames in the sky are very familiar. It feels very comfortable, like the feeling of basking in the sun in the past. Xiao Ran tried her best to describe the feeling, but in truth she did not know what it felt like to bask in the sun. She had been a spirit general for a long time. Seeing Xian's expression, Xiao Ran became even more flustered. Xianxia could see clearly that there were no more enemies behind them, and the focus of the battle would shift to the Shang continent. This was the true reason why the highest command had called him back, since there were no more battles to be fought, and it was a waste for a military general of Xie Yuan's level to be left idle. The holy flames burned every inch of the deck. All of the expensive and outstanding materials that were resistant to fire were as weak as paper in front of the holy flames. All of the crew members, regardless of whether they were hiding in the ship or trying to escape, were enveloped by the golden flames. Compared to the high morale of the Southern Alliance, the morale of the honorable Martial Continent's armies was extremely low. Chia's eyes flashed with a light aura. She suddenly said, "Xiao Ran, go check on everyone." His connection with Tang Tian had been severed. The more ferocious the beast, the more intense and ferocious its struggle would be. The aristocratic alliance had directly threatened Temple's rule, and Bing believed that since he could see it clearly, the higher-ups of Temple would definitely be able to see it clearly. Temple's counterattack would definitely be extremely ferocious. Everything would be burnt to ashes. Chapter 9:18. Everyone else found it hard to believe. They had never heard of it before. Xin did not expect Tang Tian to talk about the spirit chamber, but thinking about the relationship between Bing and Tang Tian, he understood and explained to the two of them. The spirit chamber is a building unique to the Southern Cross Army. It can create spirit generals in case of a lack of manpower. But there are many restrictions, and the spirit generals created are usually not strong and can only be used for emergencies. Tang Tian's tone became solemn. The person who thought of this method is a true genius. Ordinary holy flames are a type of radiant energy, an extremely unique type of radiant energy. I suspect that the holy flame is the true result of Temple's research. The holy flame is able to stimulate the growth of the flesh, but strangely the clan elders' bodies are not strong, because the power of the physique is used to nourish the soul. But the soul that is nourished by this method has not gone through any tempering. Xiao Ran felt that it was inconceivable. How can spirit generals be produced on a large scale? What's that? Ji Zhe suddenly pointed into the distance, her voice filled with fear. She knew that Tang Tian's intuition was extremely sharp. No one could compare to him, and he definitely had discovered something. Following Ji Zhe's finger, everyone saw a fist-sized golden holy flame slowly floating across the rooftops and rising into the sky. The entire place was silent. Everyone was shocked by what Tang Tian had described. All of them felt a chill down their spines and their hair stood. Every golden holy flame was a life. Chia thought. It is as though they are being fattened and not becoming stronger? Could there be some other secret? Xian's face frowned. It is not easy to increase the strength of a spirit general. His brain was working very fast. He counted on his fingers and continued, "There's a problem here. The prestigious alliance is very strong, and Temple has the absolute advantage in terms of military strength. Could it be that the great clan elder wants to use spirit generals to make up for his lack of military strength? If that's the case, the great clan elder will need to create more spirit generals. Fragments of battle spirits are also fine," Xin added, "but the spirit generals that come out will be severely damaged and will be very weak." The spirit generals under Xiao Ran all had different degrees of growth. The reason why Xin did not sense it was because he was not as strong as Xiao Man, but with Xiao Man's reminder he quickly thought deeper. Melissa burst out crying. "Other than Temple, many ordinary people have trained in the holy flames. Temple said that as long as you cultivate the holy flame, you will have the opportunity to be nurtured by Temple and may work for Temple and be nurtured by Temple and be able to. It should be a lot. If there are too few of them, even if Sophie is as strong as him, he will not be able to suppress the armies that Sadra and the rest have." Chia concluded calmly. "The great clan elder has grasped the method to mass-produce spirit generals. That is a reasonable deduction. The commander of the Honorable Martial Banner of Knights, Sophie, is a spirit general. Wasn't there a rumor that Sophie was a spirit general created by the great clan elder? From the looks of it, it might be true. The great clan elder might have already grasped the method to create spirit generals." Xin spoke frankly with assurance, his expression focused. "If the great clan elder is able to mass-produce spirit generals, then the arrangement in front of us can be explained. These fiery pillars are not only able to seal the Saint Continent, but can also transform the Saint Continent into a battlefield suitable for spirit generals. As long as they fight in the Saint Continent, they will be able to establish an advantage as it is their absolute home ground." The coldness in his words caused one's hair to stand. Tang Tian suddenly pointed to the pillar of punishment formed by the golden holy flames. That's it. One after another, golden flames floated across the roof. More and more golden flames floated up from more and more places, like a gigantic group of golden jellyfish swimming towards the surface of the sea. If I am not wrong, the concentration of energy in the sacred Saint Galaxy is extremely unfavorable for the production of spirit generals. Chia's beautiful eyes flickered with a light aura. Forget about fighting spirits, there aren't even any fighting spirit fragments. If the great clan elder wants to create spirit generals, he will require sufficient materials, and requires sufficient fighting spirit fragments. For some reason, everyone's mind involuntarily flashed with Tang Tian's conjecture. A bone-chilling cold intent flowed through their bodies like an electric current, causing their necks to freeze and their bodies to freeze as though they were statues. Chia and Xiao Ran were at a loss. They had never seen a spirit hall before. Every corner of their vision was filled with gold and they floated slowly. Spirits that had been nourished for decades were only used as fertilizer for other spirit generals. I understand now. Chia nodded her head. That also means spirit generals cannot be created out of thin air, and require fighting spirit fragments or spirit cards as materials and require spirits. Chia immediately caught onto the crux of the matter. That also means the spirit hall also requires spirit cards or similar materials to create spirit generals? Ordinary spirit generals, even if there are many of them and their strength has increased. But does the great clan elder have the confidence to guarantee victory against Sadra's army? Chia did not understand. Sadra's army is very strong. Chia's words were agreed upon by everyone. They had seen the armies of Sadra and the rest, and they were all extremely powerful. There were a few armies that were on the same level as the Qiu offense army, and that was why everyone was more optimistic about the aristocratic alliance and not Temple. Melissa stammered with a sobbing tone. Many people have trained in holy flames. Everyone's faces were as white as paper. Other than fear in their eyes, there was only fear. Everyone's eyes turned to look at Melissa at the same time. Melissa, who had maintained her silence from the start, had a pale face. Her entire body was trembling, and the sound of her teeth chattering could be heard by everyone. Chia did not refute and continued. Just now, you guys said that the strength of spirit generals that are groomed like this are more ordinary, and to groom powerful spirit generals is more difficult? Everyone was stunned if Tang Tian's guess was true. No one dared to imagine it. Everyone did not understand, but for some reason, a bad premonition surfaced in their hearts at the same time. It's a large-scale manufacturing, that is a must. Xin said with a look of it as a matter of fact. The spirit hall actually transforms spirits into spirit generals. How can there be so many powerful spirits in the world? Of course they are mostly ordinary goods. How many people were there in the Saint Continent? No one present knew the exact number, but everyone knew that the Saint Continent was the most flourishing continent in the entire Honorable Martial Continent, and also the continent with the most population. If there were people familiar with this information, they would definitely tell them that the population of the Saint Continent was 1/10 of the entire Honorable Martial Continent. No one had seen anything crueler than that. Many people? That's what I mean. Tang Tian nodded his head and said, we all know that the divine spirit needs to be tempered to become stronger. Without going through any tempering, the spirits cannot become stronger. I found it strange the last time, the Honorable Martial Banner of Knights were very powerful, but after exchanging blows, I realized that they were much weaker than I thought. But now I understand that their spirits are used as fertilizers. The holy flames that ignite the spirits can nourish the flesh and strengthen the spirit. When the holy flames ignites the spirits that have been nourished for so many years will fuse into the holy flames. No wonder their auras are different. If I am not wrong, the holy flames of the fiery pillars are not only used to seal the Saint Continent, they also have another use, and that is to strengthen the spirit generals that have just been born. The boundless holy flames occupied every inch of space in the sky. There were so many of them that no one could count them, and no one knew how many lives would be used to nourish them. In that moment, millions of lives disappeared without a sound, transformed into a regiment of silent burning golden flames, and became fertilizers. Tang Tian thought for a moment. The last time I fought with the Honorable Martial Banner of Knights, when he escaped, his holy flames also changed from white to gold, which is very similar to the holy flames in front of us. I thought about it for a period of time, but I did not understand it until I saw Seuss's spirit start to ignite. Did I understand? Spirit generals. Temple's killing technique was actually spirit generals. It was out of Tang Tian's expectations. Xian's heart trembled. He exclaimed, "You're saying? Different?" Chia's eyes lit up. "What's different? This holy flame is strange." Tang Tian explained, "I have fought with their honorable martial banner of knights in the past, and have seen their holy flames. But the holy flame I saw previously is different from this one." Xian muttered, "It is not easy, but it is not impossible. Temple's research on spirits has a long history. Maybe they have long found a way to nurture battle spirit fragments. You need a very powerful spirit card to produce a powerful spirit general." Tang Tian thought about Ghost Claw and felt sad, because only a spirit with a deep obsession can produce a powerful spirit general. "I once used many spirit cards, but the spirit generals that came out were all ordinary and could only move things around." "You need spirit cards," Tang Tian said. "If the grade of the spirit cards is higher, then you can produce a more powerful spirit general." Even further in the sky, the densely packed golden holy flames could not be seen, as though it was a golden ocean. Everyone's entire body turned cold. They were all veterans of battles and had seen countless of corpses, blood and flesh flying everywhere. They initially thought that there was no one in the world that could cause them to be afraid of such a cruel scene. But the scene in front of them caused their hearts to tremble involuntarily. They wouldn't dare to be so reckless, right? Even Xian, who was usually bold, was stuttering. "Create spirit generals?" Tang Tian's eyes lit up and immediately said, "Spirit Hall. Spirit Hall can create spirit generals." They watched in a daze. It was an unforgettable scene for them. Melissa had completely lost control of her emotions. Tears flowed down her face. She could not speak anymore and squatted down on the ground, crying bitterly. Chia was also at a loss and muttered, "So scary." No one dared to continue thinking about it. The divine and majestic gold color was extremely sinister and sinister. It did not have any warmth and only contained endless death. "That's right." Xian was extremely certain. No one was clearer than him about Spirit Hall. From a certain perspective, spirits are a type of life. No one can create life out of thin air. Everyone was startled. They did not understand. Chapter 9:19. The soldiers' eyes were filled with heartache and even their wiping motions became softer. In their hearts, their swords were their closest companions, accompanying them day and night. "What's wrong with Master?" Everyone was confused. If it was said that encountering the Southern Cross Army caught Wuxia off guard and messed up his plans, causing him to be in a passive state. But even in such a predicament he did not lose his rationality and judgment. They were treasures, and their greatest characteristic was their sturdiness. They could endure hundreds of millions of high-intensity attacks without being damaged. In the history of the army, there had never been a soldier whose swords were damaged due to training too diligently. Wuxia threw the problem of the Wei Yiguan continent to the back of his mind. He had to consider his own situation. "Pay attention to protecting the flanks. We suffered the last time because we did not protect the flanks properly. Whatever the reason is, it's not that we did not pay enough attention to the flanks, but that we were disconnected. I have just reviewed the situation. We were disconnected for about 6 seconds. If it was in the past, it would not be considered a flaw, but our enemies are experts. 6 seconds of weakness is enough for them to launch an attack. They are proficient in charging, and that is what we must avoid. Remember, once the battle starts, do not give them the chance to charge and focus on tangling. Do your best to slow down the pace of the battle. They are more proficient in fast-paced battles. Isn't that Temple's most precious material? Isn't it the most advanced technology? How did we get injured?" Everyone gasped for breath. They leaned on the rocks to rest and quietly recovered their strength. The intensity of the battle and the strength of the enemy had transformed into a heavy pressure that caused them to be unable to breathe. But the determination on their faces did not diminish. Southern Cross Army, a name that they are unfamiliar with. Master said that this army belongs to the Southern Alliance. The soldiers had never heard of the Southern Cross Army, but they knew about the Southern Alliance. Although they had been stationed in the Wei Yiguan continent for a long time, and did not join the Southern Expedition, but they were familiar with the Southern Alliance. The man who was as tough as steel fell to the ground with blood dripping from his eyes. He gathered the soldiers under his command and held a short pre-war meeting. According to the frequency of attacks for the past few days, the enemy would not give him the chance to breathe, and the next wave of attacks would arrive soon. That was something that Wuxia felt was inconceivable. His army's training was extremely harsh, and their tenacity was extremely rare, something that he was proud of. But on this point the enemy was still stronger than them. Wuxia suddenly realized that he didn't know what to do. He woke up with a start. His back was covered in a layer of sweat. He knew that this was because he was completely suppressed by his opponent, causing his mentality to be unbalanced. The Lord's strange behavior attracted everyone's attention. They followed his gaze but did not discover anything. The barbarian army was large in number and aggressive, but Wuxia was actually not too worried. He was usually very strict with his training, and before he set off he had warned the defending generals to be even more careful. The layout of the Wei Yiguan continent was personally created by Wuxia, and he knew how sturdy it was. They could not be wasted in the savage continent. The strength of the Southern Cross army far exceeded his expectations. He had never thought that his own army would suffer such a huge loss. What was disadvantageous to him was that they were in the savage continent, and every tribe here was naturally hostile towards them, while the Southern Cross army was in a completely opposite situation. Wuxia did not speak quickly. He was calm and emotionless, as if he was narrating something that had nothing to do with him. All the setbacks and difficulties before him were just tempering, nothing more. His white hair was turning snow white at a speed visible to the naked eye. He had never thought that there would actually be someone in the world who could completely suppress him, causing his heart to lose control. It was a sign of danger. It meant that his confidence was slowly slipping away. He was on guard. Wuxia's expression was cold and stern, like a rock that had been eroded by the wind. The surface was mottled, but the inside was as tough as steel. It was the expression that the soldiers were most familiar with. It did not have much warmth, and would always remind people of the Wei Yiguan continent's perpetual snowstorm and the strict military discipline. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. It was the first time they saw panic in the master's eyes. They saw fear, they saw the loss of what to do, and they saw the emptiness after despair. What should I do? He laughed bitterly in his heart. Wuxia used all sorts of methods to try and escape from the Southern Cross army's pursuit. But the opponent's general was extremely experienced. His disguise and bait did not succeed even once. The opponent was always able to see through his intentions, and every time that happened he would feel as if he was stripped naked and had nowhere to hide under the sun. His eyes regained clarity. He was originally a person with a strong will, and the setback did not cause him to lose his courage. Wuxia, who was as stiff as a wooden statue, slowly turned his head and looked into the distance. Suddenly, without any warning, Wuxia seemed to have been struck by lightning. His voice abruptly stopped. He was dumbstruck. He had a misconception that the opponent was like an old fox that had gone through tens of thousands of battles and relied on his rich experience. Wuxia was extremely depressed about his misconception. Regardless of whether it was the Sacred Saint Galaxy or Heaven's Road, they had not fought for a long time, so how could such an old monster appear? Alright, that is already news from a long time ago, and no one knows what the current situation is like. Their connection with Temple had long been severed, and they were isolated and helpless in the savage continent. Just like before, they had never thought that there would truly be an army as strong as them, that there would truly be a military general that possessed willpower and strength that was not inferior to their master. Crimson tears of blood flowed down from his lifeless eyes. It had to be admitted that they were overly optimistic before they left, and the biggest variable was the Southern Cross army. No one had ever thought that in the desolate savage continent, they would actually meet an army from the Southern Alliance. Furthermore, it was a mechanical army and one that was so powerful. The only thing that made Wuxia feel gratified was that under the immense pressure, their growth was equally astonishing. Following the continuous tempering, their growth was extremely fast, although they were still at a disadvantage. But their confidence in returning to Temple had increased. All of them were elites that were picked out from 10,000, and the strict Wuxia had never slacked off on their training, allowing them to build up a solid foundation. With Jia Ye's defense, the Wei Yiguan continent was unbreakable. In the black market outside, Wuxia's army's standard long sword was priceless, and was a treasure that countless people yearned for. They knew that their master would definitely bring them back to Temple. Saint Continent. At the start, every time they ended a battle they would wail in disbelief. But as the number of battles increased, their understanding of the enemy grew, and they were no longer surprised. Their battle plans had long failed. Not only did they not find the goddess of war, they were entangled by the Southern Cross army. They did not even dare to return from the original path. As long as the star door to the Wei Yiguan continent was exposed, the Wei Yiguan continent would immediately become extremely dangerous. Furthermore, the Southern Cross army was right behind them, and the Southern Cross army would not even give them the chance to reorganize and defend. They had never thought that there would be a day when their closest and most trusted comrade would be injured. But it gave them a sense of security. That was what made them the most suspicious. The Southern Alliance has such a powerful army, how can they be forced to retreat on the battlefield? Although he was completely suppressed, but he bitterly held on and at the same time, caused the enemy to suffer injuries and deaths. If they lost their confidence, then the situation that they were bitterly holding on would instantly crumble. But at that moment, the swords in their hands were filled with scars and tiny nicks could be seen everywhere. He had to bring his army back. It was not only because he viewed every single soldier of the army as his own nephew, nor was it because he had built up the army with his own hands, it was because Temple needed them, needed Mu Jixia's army. They were like a piece of unpolished jade, and the intense battles and powerful enemies were the best whetstones for them. They started to release their radiance. No matter how powerful the enemy was, they were no longer afraid. The generals and soldiers listened attentively. They would hold such a meeting before every battle. They were able to know how they lost the previous time, where they did not do well, etc., and that was the secret to their rapid growth. But is the Southern Alliance truly that powerful? Mu Jixia tragically realized that regardless of whether it was tactics or fighting capabilities, the enemy was stronger than him. Jia should have already taken over the Wei Yiguan continent. Mu Jixia estimated the time in his mind and came to that conclusion. He still had a deep impression of the dazzling cross-light aura, and the greatest casualty was at that time. At the start they were battered and exhausted and suffered a shocking number of casualties. But as time passed they were still battered and exhausted, but they were able to organize and counterattack occasionally, and their casualties were much smaller than before. If the Southern Cross Army was not part of the Southern Alliance, Mu Jixia would feel that the battle was not a bad thing. As long as they persevered for a period of time, Temple would definitely send reinforcements. And Mu Jixia knew that it would be Jia even if he closed his eyes. Who else is more proficient in defense than Jia? What place is more suitable than the Wei Yiguan continent for Jia's battlefield? When their physical strength gradually recovered, they started to clean their swords. Due to Mu Jixia's influence, the soldiers of the army loved the army's standard swords the most. Even their designs were the same. But they were the direct subordinates of the #1 great general. And although their designs were standard swords, but due to the large amount of rare and precious materials and Temple's most advanced smelting and forging techniques, the cost was extremely high. They raised their heads and listened to their master's every word. They knew that they would definitely defeat the Southern Cross Army in the end, just like how the Honorable Marshall Continent would defeat the Southern Alliance in the end. His deep eyes were ashen as though all of his life force had been sucked away. He no longer had the sharp aura and looked like a withered old man. Chapter 920. Mu Jixia suddenly thought about the first day he entered Temple. He was only 12 years old, and the great clan elder at that time was not the current great clan elder. It was a sunny day and the clan elder had a warm smile on his face. After Sophie was created, her performance was extremely outstanding. Her learning ability was strong and she grew very quickly. Right at that time, another important result appeared. Temple realized that holy flames could be absorbed by spirit generals in a unique way. This method can raise the strength of spirit generals in a short period of time. Temple did not do it for Sophie. As though he could hear the fear in their hearts, Mu Jixia's cold and emotionless heart crushed the last bit of hope in their hearts. Yes, it is exactly what you think. Holy flames. Old Tang and the old commander looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. He is the great clan elder. Mu Jixia could feel the holy flames flowing in his body and said indifferently, thus Temple started to promote the holy flames. You should remember that at that time, Temple started to formulate a series of plans. This plan started with the intention of creating spirit generals. The plan did not go smoothly, but after overcoming many difficulties they succeeded. They created the first powerful spirit general, the commander of the Banner of Knights, Sophie. Wuxia's eyes were filled with blood, but he could still sense the commotion of the soldiers around him. He sighed, "I am afraid that the Saint Continent is now a living hell. We surrender and I will tell you everything that I know. Please do not harm my soldiers, I beg of you." Everyone listened attentively. The commotion gradually quietened down and everyone turned to look at Wuxia. At that moment no one felt agitated, their entire bodies were cold, bone-chilling cold. There was only one person who could give them an answer, and that was the master in front of them. Sorrow enveloped the entire camp. Seeing their respected opponent fall, the two of them did not feel any joy of victory. Temple has always had a plan. Wuxia's voice was faintly discernible like the wind, he sighed. This plan originated from Temple's research on spirit generals. His gaze was complicated. That's right, spirit generals have a long lifespan. But it is a long time, suffering year after year with no end in sight. How many people can understand the sorrow? Watching one's family and friends grow old and die in front of one's eyes. That boundless loneliness was more painful than any energy corrosion. When time is so long that even the people you love deeply are forgotten, even the most beautiful memories are annihilated, and even your beliefs and ideals are decayed and disappeared, you are still floating alone in this world. How sad is that? The rumbling of the mechanical puppets came closer and closer. Based on their experience over the past few days, they should hide, they should form a defensive line, and they should protect their flanks against the enemy's attack. They were already able to calmly face the surging bronze flood. But no one moved. It was as if they hadn't heard. A look of shock appeared on Old Tang's face. Not only did Wuxia's vitality not decline, but it was also abnormally vigorous, like a raging flame in the night. What caused Wuxia's body to rapidly deteriorate was precisely this incomparably exuberant life force. It was constantly burning and eroding Wuxia's flesh. Many soldiers clutched their heads in disbelief. Temple was their faith and was incomparably sacred in their hearts. If these words were not spoken by Wuxia, whom they usually trusted the most, they would have torn him to pieces. "Thank you." Wuxia's voice was as soft as a mosquito, but his expression remained calm. "Please do not waste your time on me." "Impossible. How can Temple do this?" Suddenly, the soldiers thought about Temple's judgment. Does Temple think that Master is not loyal enough? Or do they think that Master is not doing well and is being punished? The soldiers became agitated. They had followed the Master alone and fought with their lives on the line. How can Temple judge Master so unfairly? They carefully walked past the grieving soldiers and saw Wuxia lying on the ground with bloodstains in his eyes. His body sparkling and translucent like white jade. They were all shocked. They finally understood why the soldiers did not resist at all. Wuxia was the soul of the army, and if anything were to happen to him, the army would no longer be the number one army under the heavens. The plan was flawless. Wuxia spoke as though he was dreaming. In a short period of time, Sophie's strength increased by over 10 times, and became the strongest martial artist in Temple. But there was a problem. Sophie's strength increased to a certain level and reached a bottleneck, and absorbing the holy flames did not have any effect. After Temple's research, they realized that Sophie's strength had already reached a critical point, and to break through, the amount of holy flames he absorbed was an astronomical figure. The Master's blood-stained face revealed a strange holy aura. The skin on his face seemed to be transparent, and they could even see the white holy flames flowing beneath his skin. "That's holy flames," Wuxia said softly. "Eternal life, ha." Everyone was shocked by Wuxia's words. Even the soldiers who were originally excited seemed to have been immobilized. They did not understand why the Master would suddenly mention the unrelated Saint Continent. Furthermore, the Saint Continent was where Temple was and had many armies. The honorable martial continent had the tightest defense. How could it be a living hell? But Wuxia continued to defend against their attacks tenaciously, and continued to grow, causing the old commander and the rest to feel the immense pressure. Steel-like willpower, strict discipline, tenacious fighting spirit, adept fighting techniques, unparalleled synchronization rate, they truly lived up to their name as the number one army under the heavens. It was not the victory they wanted. When the old commander and old Tang arrived, they looked at each other. Wuxia sighed. After persevering for a long time, adding the information that Heaven's Road Temple had continuously sent over, Temple's research on spirits finally had a huge breakthrough. One of the most important results was that they found a way to overcome the energy corrosion. That means that spirit generals have a long lifespan and are practically immortal. The two of them had solemn expressions without any smiles. The two of them had praised Wuxia's tenacity countless of times, and praised the tenacity of the soldiers who were in dire straits countless of times. At the start they were still able to easily defeat Wuxia's army, but very quickly Wuxia's army became more and more difficult to deal with and brought more and more casualties. Wuxia was a respectable opponent and the soldiers were respectable soldiers. It was dead silence. The piercing pain in his eyes pulled him back from his memories, the cruel darkness, the surging holy flames in his body, and even the familiar holy aura was bone-piercing. No matter how knowledgeable old Tang was, he had never seen such a strange thing before. How can it be holy flames? Wuxia's body looked extremely strange, his hair was as white as silver, and his hands that were originally covered in calluses had patches of white light. A faint white light shone out from his body, revealing his flesh and skin. His entire body seemed to be circulating with white light, as though he was enveloped in a layer of light. The soldiers around him suddenly went into an uproar, they raised their heads, their faces filled with shock and disbelief. The holy flame was something they were most familiar with and they had to train in it every day. How could such a terrifying scene be caused by the holy flame? In their hearts, the holy flame was something that gave them strength and courage, it could heal their wounds, it could make them stronger and it was a symbol of their devotion. Everyone held their breaths. They had a premonition that what Wuxia was about to say would definitely be an earth-shattering secret. Temple's research on spirits was famous. Much less them, even a 10-year-old child knew that Temple's research on spirits was the highest standard in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Old Tang and the old commander did not understand either. They knew about the holy flame, they knew about the Saint Continent, but they could not link the two together. Relax, we are not people who kill indiscriminately. The old commander said. They did not meet with any resistance and no one even looked at them. The old commander and old Tang's faces became gloomy. They were unable to believe that the soldiers in front of them who looked like beggars were actually the elites of the First Army, and were actually able to fight with them to the end, causing them to suffer heavy casualties. The surroundings quietened down, that sentence struck them like a bolt of lightning, causing a terrifying guess to surface in their minds. It can't be. It can't be. How could Temple do that? Old Tang squatted down and checked on Wuxia with a serious expression. The soldiers automatically surrounded Wuxia. Some of them were sobbing, some of them were wiping their tears mixed with the mud covering their faces. Their eyes were blank as though their souls had been extracted. They were in a daze as though they were walking corpses. Hearing that, the old commander roughly understood. Transforming a person into a spirit general is a form of eternal life. Although Sophie succeeded, she did not have any memories. How to transform into a spirit general while maintaining her memories became the newest problem. This problem did not stump Temple and was quickly completed. But it was something that went against the laws of nature and had an extremely high risk. The success rate of transforming into a spirit general was extremely low. The first person to attempt it was an ambitious man. He was determined to dedicate his long life to Temple. He firmly believed that as long as he had enough time he would be able to rebuild a brand new temple, a clean and flawless temple. For this dream he was willing to take the risk even if he had to give up his life. Regardless of whether it was his or someone else's. Has Temple gone crazy? There was a sudden uproar in the silence. This is too inhumane. What's going on? The soldiers were overwhelmed with shock, so the rumors regarding Commander Sophie were actually true. Both parties had fought for so long and could be said to appreciate each other. The reason why Wuxia was completely suppressed by the Southern Cross Army was not because he was not strong enough, but because he was alone and had to face the Southern Cross Army, and was surrounded by dangers. Not only did they have to face the Southern Cross Army, they also had to defend against the savage tribes. On the other hand, it was because of his experience. Wuxia had commanded the army for over 10 years, and had never been through the baptism of war, compared to the old commander who had been fighting for his entire life, and was an old monster that had been baptized in wars. How could he compare? He chuckled in his heart, bringing along the bitterness and loneliness of the years. The position of the Honorable Marshal Banner of Knights was extraordinary, and Commander Sophie, who was in charge of the Honorable Marshal Banner of Knights, held an extremely high position in everyone's hearts. The premonition in their hearts became even stronger. A secret that involved so many important figures, how could it be an ordinary secret? Chapter 921. All of the frenzied soldiers of Wuxia's army stopped. As though they were immobilized, they stared blankly at the empty holy flames. The seeds they planted in my body have activated. I can feel that the Saint Continent is no longer here, our family. Wuxia laughed bitterly. He felt that he was truly foolish. For the sake of serving temple, he had even sacrificed his own family. The holy flames completely swallowed Wuxia, causing the holy flames to become silent. Old Tang and the old commander revealed looks of pity. The cruel reality, the tragic scene, even they who had hearts of stone could not accept it. Especially when they heard the soldiers shouting out the names of their children and family, and the heart-wrenching wails, they could not help but turn their heads. His heart was filled with regret. He regretted joining temple, regretted fighting for temple, regretted implicating his family. Many of their faces were filled with shock and shock. They all knew that the great clan elder was enveloped in holy flames, but none of them thought that there were so many secrets. He is a terrifying opponent. The great clan elder is cold-blooded. He treats human lives like grass, crazy and unreasonable, but he is him. You can despise him, but you can never look down on him. You can dislike him, but you can never look down on him. Wuxia remained silent. He opened his mouth. His heart felt like it was being stabbed, but nothing came out. Master. All of the soldiers of Wuxia's army knelt down with pleading looks on their faces. They could accept dying on the battlefield and throwing their corpses into the wilderness. That was their duty, and they did not cower in the slightest. But their families had become temple's fertilizer, and their hearts were shrouded in endless sorrow and despair. He retracted his disapproval, retracted his ridicule towards the great clan elder's desire for eternal life, because he asked himself, what if it was me? They could empathize with him. They were all soldiers who fought on the battlefield and felt it deeply. The heart-wrenching wails came out. The soldiers who climbed up the mechanical puppets, their bodies covered in smoke and tattered clothes, the madness on their bodies instantly disappeared. They wailed and cried. They allowed their bodies to fall down from the mechanical puppets and into the ground. Have you all forgotten Wuxia's dying wish? Have you all forgotten the blood feud that you bear? Have you all forgotten who the main culprit is? The holy flames were ferocious, and in the blink of an eye, Wuxia was completely incinerated, leaving nothing behind. He was the one who had harmed everyone. It was as if he had seen his own family members turn into a regiment of pale white holy flames, and then being swallowed by a figure. Revenge. 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 Hot blood flowed down his cheeks slowly. The soldiers raised their heads blankly. Forget about being able to lead the Southern Cross Army forever. As long as they could win the war, he would not hesitate. It was not only him, many people in the army could do it. Unfortunately, he couldn't take revenge. Wuxia's voice trembled with endless sorrow. He didn't know why he still had the strength to say these words. All of the soldiers were stunned. They frantically pounced towards the holy flame, wanting to drag Wuxia out. The air seemed to freeze and time seemed to stop. The soldiers did not even dare to breathe as they looked at Wuxia with pale faces. The regiment commander looked around with a murderous aura. Revenge. 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 It's hopeless, Wuxia said calmly. He wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. Bang. An unprecedented rage surged in the hearts of the Southern Cross Army soldiers. Even if they were enemies in the past, but at that moment, they only felt a common hatred for the enemy, and wanted nothing more than to turn the great clan elder into meat paste. The regiment commander knew that Wuxia was talking about the great clan elder. He had heard of the news by chance but did not place it in his heart, because he felt that as long as the great clan elder still had a trace of rationality, he would definitely not carry out the plan. The Saint Continent was the foundation of temple, and the citizens that lived there were either devout believers or the family members of temple's core members. By doing this, isn't temple digging their own foundation? Who would dare to follow temple if they were to kill the family members of their core members? Who would follow them? The regiment commander, Old Tang, and the rest reacted quickly, and immediately stopped the soldiers who had lost control of their emotions. The frenzied soldiers of Wuxia's army disregarded everything. They begged and bit the mechanical puppets, punching and kicking them. Their faces were covered in tears. No. The soldier was at a loss, his mind was blank and he spoke incoherently. That can't be. We are fighting for Temple, we are people of Temple, why would Temple take action against our family? He did it. Wuxia's voice seemed to be tainted with the smell of holy flames. It carried a sense of authority, which was a familiar feeling to everyone. But at that moment even Wuxia was filled with hatred and disgust. The holy flames that flowed beneath his skin became even more lively. Everyone was attracted by Wuxia's words, and no one noticed that the bones of his fingers were enveloped by the holy flames, and were silently melting. Wuxia was oblivious. There was only a 10% chance of success, but he succeeded. He became the strongest clan elder in Temple, and everyone has to bow down to him, and his orders are the will of Temple. To prevent others from knowing that he has become a spirit general, he lived in seclusion, and used the holy flames to envelop himself. Everyone thought that the great clan elder used a special method to train in the holy flames, but no one guessed that beneath the holy flames was a spirit general. I am stupid. This is too deranged. The regiment commander was silent. Me. That's another problem. Wuxia smiled bitterly and desolately. The white light shone through the wrinkles on his weathered face. Looked extremely terrifying and strange. The great elder soon found out that even if he had an endless lifespan, he would not be able to realize his great ambition by himself. He needed more like-minded people. I was not born in a prestigious family, so I was naturally sought out, but I rejected them. I do not wish to become a spirit general. I am destined to dedicate my life to Temple, but I still wish to rest after death. The long years will make me fearful. The great clan elder did not punish me, but to prevent the secret from leaking out, he left something in my body. That thing is acting up now. Do not hurt them. Old Tang could not bear to watch and reminded the soldiers under him. Life was always precious, with the warm sunlight, the alluring heartbeat and the connection between each other. Time was always heartless, cold and lonely, so long that it was terrifying. But there were always some things, some ideals, that could allow you to overcome the yearning for life, to overcome the fear of time, and you would not hesitate to give up everything and throw yourself into its embrace. These soldiers were fighting alone at the front lines, fighting for Temple, but Temple had harmed their families. Old Tang looked at Wuxia. The light aura of holy flames seemed to be spewing out from Wuxia's body. He asked, "Then what's going on with you now?" Suddenly a soldier asked anxiously. Beside him the other soldiers all had anxious looks on their faces. Their families were all in the Saint Continent and they had a bad premonition. Their faces were buried in the soil, their hands grabbed onto the dust. They cried out the names of their families, cried out Wuxia's name. They wanted to grab onto something but could not grab onto anything. They hammered their heads, they curled up into a ball, they were helpless and in despair. Surging holy flames surged out from his body. In the blink of the eye he had become a flaming man, the white holy flames crackling. Wuxia felt his body becoming lighter and lighter. The pain of his soul burning caused his consciousness to become more and more blurry. He mustered his last bit of strength and shouted while trembling. A crazy man who did not care about his own life. A cold-blooded man who did not care about the lives of others, who did not care about anything on the battlefield. For the sake of victory he was willing to do anything. The other soldiers had their hands on their heads, their eyes were at a loss, and some of their eyes started to reveal fear and despair. "Master, I beg you." The soldier knelt on the ground and kowtowed and begged, "Master, seeing that this lowly one has followed you for so long, please tell us." All of their beliefs and ideals had collapsed. And then they found out that their families were all dead, and watched as their most respected boss was burned to ashes in front of them. All of these men who had gone through countless trials and tribulations, and had never been defeated in battle, had completely collapsed at that moment. All of the soldiers and military generals were dumbstruck by this shocking secret. That's right, the content had completely exceeded their imaginations and they were shocked by too many things. And then they will use the holy flames of the entire Saint Continent to evolve. Even the old commander and old Tang were shocked. Even though they were listening to Wuxia's narration, they could still hear the craziness of the great clan elder and his fanaticism towards Temple. The old commander had become a spirit general after his own death, but he never thought that the great clan elder would voluntarily become a spirit general for the sake of rebuilding Temple. He took a deep breath and suddenly roared, "All of you shut up." The old commander's roar could be heard by the entire field, and the empty eyes of the soldiers of Wuxia's army started to have light auras converge. Although the great clan elder was crazy, but he was definitely an extremely intelligent man, and would definitely not do such a foolish thing. Can we be saved? The old commander asked. Wuxia was a respectable opponent and he did not wish for Wuxia to die. To give up his own life to take such a huge risk for temple. That was probably the most cruel thing in the world. Wuxia laughed bitterly. Saint Continent, there is no more Saint Continent. I know they have a plan, I do not know the details, but I have a rough idea. Once temple reaches the final juncture, they will disregard everything and transform into spirit generals, and then... Everyone in the Southern Cross army was silent. They allowed the enemy soldiers to climb onto their mechanical puppets and bite them. As long as they could stop them, they would feel extremely sad. Saint Continent, what's wrong with Saint Continent? Master, what's wrong with Saint Continent that you mentioned just now? The commander was an old-fashioned person. In his opinion, a hero like Wuxia should die on the battlefield and not in the dark of politics and schemes. The old commander looked at the elite soldiers, their eyes were empty and they wailed incessantly, his heart feeling extremely sad. It shouldn't be like this, these iron men forged from blood and fire shouldn't be like this. Chapter 922. The only thing that made him feel more at ease was the great clan elder's feelings and sincerity towards temple, which was not fake at all. Snow City, which used to be bustling with activity, was now deathly silent. There were no wails, no sounds, and it was like a ghost city. But at a time like this, every bit of strength became very important. Every holy flame was a set of bones. In everyone's eyes, the first elder was mysterious, authoritative, wise, and omnipotent. However, Jia keenly sensed the great elder's hidden madness. I don't know. The subordinate rushed over at full speed without resting and spoke with a hoarse voice. It's the holy flame, the golden holy flame. All the estuaries were blocked by the holy flames. Some people tried to barge in, but they were all burned to ashes. Everyone's faces became even more serious. Temple's moves were indeed linked together. They did not give anyone any chance. The holy flames converted the drifting energy in the air into radiant energy. Not only did it weaken the enemy, it could also strengthen oneself, killing two birds with one stone. If they could break the shackles of the pillars of punishment, they would be able to fly as well, which would have a profound effect on the battle. The God Armor Army was doing their best to maintain the protective barrier, and were completely reduced to manual labor. However, this could not be helped. Without the protection of the energy shield, everyone was in danger. Holy flames could strengthen spirit generals, that was the easiest guess. The Grand Alliance's move at this critical juncture would have a huge impact on the Southern Expedition. It might even cause the Southern Expedition to suffer a crushing defeat. Jia could not help but sigh softly. In the eyes of ordinary people, the alliance of the aristocratic families did not care about the big picture. But even Jia could see that the aristocratic families had no other choice. Once they won the Southern Expedition, the Great Elder would use the momentum of victory to purge the aristocratic families at the first instant. No one could guarantee that Temple would place all their bets on the spirit generals, but no one doubted it. Tang Tian also displayed his decisiveness. Without hesitation, he placed all his chips on the spirit general. Jia suddenly thought of something that Wuxia had once told him, and the blood drained from his face in an instant. He knew that the conflict between Temple and the prestigious families had been going on for a long time. But to him, the honorable martial continent was vast and both sides could coexist. In the worst-case scenario, they could expand outwards like the Southern Expedition. Compared to internal strife, he felt that war was much simpler. He also knew that he was too naive in this aspect, so he never liked to get involved. Moreover, he knew that no matter which side won, they would not make things difficult for him. After all, with his level and qualifications, he might not be able to become a direct descendant, but it would definitely not be a problem for him to make a living. Tang Tian carefully dodged the holy flames floating around him, and arrived at the side of the pillar of punishment. Their survival instinct made them struggle with all their might. They were constantly trying all kinds of methods to find a chance of survival. But as long as they touched the holy flames, they would be ignited like candles. Once they were ignited, they would not be able to extinguish the holy flame no matter what they did, and the holy flame would only end when the soul was completely incinerated. Jia only took a glance before retracting her gaze. Since holy flame Tang Tian could not help, he shifted his attention to another crucial point. which was to study the Pillars of Punishment. Not only could the Pillars of Punishment seal the entire Saint Continent, they could also seal the sky, preventing people from flying. In a battle, whether or not one could fly was crucial. Being unable to fly meant that they were at a disadvantage right from the start, and it was a very big disadvantage. The enemy could completely look down from above and unleash a barrage of attacks on them. A subordinate walked to his side and spoke softly. "Master, the Saint Continent has suddenly been sealed." Jia did not understand. Since when did Temple and the prestigious families reach such a state of irreconcilable enmity? When he said the last sentence, he thought about the terrifying scene and his voice started to tremble. They easily activated their energy barriers, but after a while they started to feel uncomfortable. The prestigious families were already in chaos. They all trained in the inheritances of their families, and did not train in holy flames. However, no matter who it was, when placed in this sea of holy flames, they would feel how insignificant they were, how insignificant their lives were, and how fearful they were. Jia knew the inside story. Fortunately, although Jizai and the rest did not use their energy barriers much, but they were gradually getting used to the high energy concentration environment, and knew how to use law threats. When he thought about what Mu Jixia had told him, he became even more worried. His only relative was killed, and even the great clan elder himself. The current Saint Continent was already in chaos. Tang Tian and the rest were trying their best, but they were different from the other survivors as they were spirit generals. Understanding Temple's intentions did not mean that they would be able to escape alive. The atmosphere was extremely tense. Everyone knew that if they were not able to find a way before the enemy grew stronger, they would be in true danger. Only around Macefield Tradings had a sliver of hope. Sima Xiao clenched his teeth. He summoned Magatama and joined the ranks of breaking the holy flames. Magatama's aura was gentle and feminine, and was the complete opposite of the holy flames' aura of light, causing Magatama to instinctively fear the holy flames. Tang Tian could not help but exclaim out. The unique undulation made him feel a trace of familiarity, as though he had seen it somewhere before. Tang Tian racked his brains and tried his best to recall where he had seen it before. Magatama's glance was like a knife cutting into Sima Zhao's heart. He was extremely upset. He bit his lips tightly and tried his best not to cry. But to Jia, the stupidest thing that the prestigious families had ever done was to assassinate Sacred Son Charles. Just like how Temple had always spread that Sophie was created by the great clan elder, there was another rumor that was widely known, and that was that Sacred Son Charles was the great clan elder's illegitimate son. But this time he felt that the prestigious families were too much. But at such a time, every bit of strength was a good thing. Wait a minute. Gold holy flames. Jia's first thought was of the great clan elder in Temple. Only the great clan elder was able to train the holy flames to the gold level. Xiao Ran and Ah Exen were carefully sensing the holy flames. Jia firmly believed that a person would always have something to hold them back in the world, and people without anything to hold them back would easily do crazy and unreasonable things. And if the other party was a strong martial artist or held supreme authority, it would be a disaster. Thinking about the great clan elder, Jia could only laugh bitterly. There were many estuaries in the Saint Continent, and to seal the Saint Continent, they could only rely on a large fleet. Although the army outside looked terrifying, the barbarians displayed astonishing physiques. They were not afraid of the cold and acted as though they were fine in the snow. But Jia did not care about it, no matter how many barbarians there were. As long as the Wei Yiguan continent was in his hands, he had absolute confidence that he could keep the barbarians out. The spirit generals under Xiao Ran had low intelligence, although they could understand orders, but to ask them to try and comprehend it themselves was like playing the lute to a cow. Only Xiao Ran and Ah Exen could decipher the secret of the holy flame. They did not know that the prestigious family's alliance had assassinated Sacred Son Charles, but from then on, the great clan elder would definitely not compromise with them. As they neared the fiery pillar, the sacred and solemn aura unique to the holy flame became much weaker, and replacing it was a rather unique aura undulation. The boundless army tents stretched endlessly. The barbarian army's tents were crudely made. They were connected together, and from afar they looked like moss on the snow plains. The thick golden fiery pillar pierced through the clouds, and when they neared it they could feel its height. When he was in the Scorpio constellation, Magatama had helped him to become the Scorpio king, but that was because Magatama was just a tool in his heart, a useful tool. But after coming to the Sin domain, Magatama became even more intelligent, and he and Magatama depended on each other, and their relationship had long changed. For Temple to spend so much effort and even sacrifice so many lives, the holy flame definitely played an irreplaceable role in their plans. Fortunately, the energy barrier was still effective, the might of the golden holy flame was astonishing, and every single flame consumed a large amount of energy. Seeing the boundless holy flame, everyone's face turned ashen, and despair rose in their hearts. The only thing that made them feel fortunate was that no one was controlling the holy flames. They floated aimlessly in the air, and the energy barrier could still hold on for a period of time, allowing them to retain a sliver of hope. He had a premonition that this was the breakthrough point. It's being sealed? Jaya's heart jumped. Who is sealing the fleet? He also spoke softly. Who sealed the fleet? The energy density is dropping. Jizai shouted out. That's not right. The holy flame is converting the other attributed energy into radiant energy. He was worried about the situation in the Saint Continent. He had an indifferent personality and did not like to fight for power, although he was from a prestigious family, but it was just a small prestigious family. The temperament of the family was the same as him. They were low profile and reserved. They lived quietly and did not cause any trouble for him. Quiet people would always be able to notice some unnoticeable details. Sima Xiao hardened his heart and gave an order to Magatama. Goyu glanced at him. Her enchanting eyes were like limpid autumn waters at this moment. She did not say anything. She turned and floated towards a strand of holy flame. Holy flame? Jia was startled. He did not expect that answer. Holy flame was definitely from Temple, but how could the holy flame isolate the estuary? The atmosphere suddenly became even more tense and everyone could feel the immense pressure. Sacred son Charles was not the illegitimate child of the great clan elder, but the nephew of the great clan elder, and was the only inheritor of the great clan elder's family. Very few people knew about it and Jia had unintentionally found out about it, but he had never divulged it. Jia was most worried that the great clan elder would do something irrational. He was a man of few words, and even if it was a bustling banquet, he liked to hold a cup of wine and sit in a corner. Tang Tian quickly realized something. Suddenly, a subordinate rushed over with a flustered expression. Jia suddenly had a bad premonition. He had specially sent this subordinate to the Saint Continent to gather information. He did not wish to be involved, but he could not be ignorant. Countless golden holy flames floated in the sky. It was extremely beautiful and dazzling. In the past, the aura of the holy flames would always cause people to feel at ease, but today the aura of the